Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. Are you recording?
Yeah. Yeah, we're recording.
You already? Oh, okay.
It's on.
Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm CraigTheWriter Stewart.
I'm Derek J. And you normally take over after that, but but we are here with another conversation of Gay Like Me conversations. Now, we were here last week.
Mm-hmm. For mental health
awareness. And then, when we were putting together these conversations, I don't think that we really paid attention to what was happening. So, meaning this is the first Wednesday of Pride Month.
Absolutely.
But we didn't think about that.
We weren't thinking about that.
We weren't thinking about that.
We
weren't thinking about putting together a schedule. And to start our first conversation in Pride Month, we're talking about the trans community is, kind of prolific.
It really is.
But we weren't even thinking about it. But I'm glad that we're back on our bi-weekly schedule, because this was really taxing. This was tough going back to back and putting everything together. But this week, we want to talk to our brothers and sisters of the trans community, because there's been a disconnect, and we really wanted to kind of bring that disconnect together and that understanding, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that you would think that in just the LGBTQ community that we all have an understanding of each other, we all have a working knowledge of each community, and we don't. So
part of the reason, again, we say this every week that we do these. The reason that we wanted to do these in the first place is to bridge communities, and we're aware that there's a divide between the trans community internally, trans men and trans women. There's a divide. There's a rift there, but there's also a divide between the trans community as a whole and the general public, if you will, heterosexual people. But then there's a divide between trans people and gay people.
Right.
Just because we're a part of the same subculture, that we're a part of the same marginalized community, there is a divide there. And one of the things that I wanted to say first is this is the very first conversation that we've had. We're turning off our cell phones. This is the very first conversation that we've had, and we talked about this earlier today, where I'm actually nervous. We're
anxious. We're nervous because we don't
want to fuck up. We don't want to say the wrong thing. We are counting on our subject matter experts that we're going to bring in a moment. Every episode we have an SME. We talked about that as well. And I said, well, I don't think we need a subject matter expert on this other than the people that are going to participate, because this is their life. This is their journey. And we are really counting on you guys to help educate us. So before we get started, them damn pistachios. Before we get started, I want to first say that we are very, very conscious of the importance of pronouns. So please forgive us if we slip in an effort to try to explain to the people that are watching. When you use your acronyms like FTM and that kind of thing, be sure to try to explain those things, because everybody that's watching, they're not familiar with all those terms.
Right. So we're not, as to say FTM and then
female to male.
Yeah, female to male. So so the people that we have a conversation with today are male to female and female to male.
Right.
So that's who we're having these conversations with today. So
how do you want to do it? Do you want to try to bring in?
So let's start. We'll start here with Jennifer Balenciaga, and then we'll alternate out. Okay. So, hey Jennifer.
Hello. How is everyone tonight?
Good. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Girl, you got your Black Panther motif on today.
That's right. Well,
first of all, as always, first I want to say thank you for being part of this conversation. And we want to just dive right into the conversation. So, girl, I don't even know where to start. Okay, well, go ahead.
And this is the question that I want everybody listening to be ready to answer when you come in. I want to know, how did you know that you were trans? Like, at what point did you know? Were you 5, 3, 10? Like, how did you know?
My development became when I understood my womanhood. My transition is focused on me becoming a woman and all that entails. So everything, Derek has known me for years, like over a decade. And we're both from Ohio. And so being from a space where it's not nurturing to be anything other than what you were born to be, is specifically the delay in me becoming the woman that I am today, and what I shall be going forward. And knowing that started with, I had a very good conversation with a very good friend of mine by the name of Cody. And I claim him to be one of my brothers. And he actually saw in me the ability of my womanhood, what womanhood would mean for me, and to actually nurture that. He helped me nurture who I am today. And I think that's a very important relationship that I try to help navigate, which would be what we describe as butch queens or cisgendered men. And specifically, that was something him and my aunt India Star were able to help me see that I didn't have to have limits to who I was and how I expressed. I was always an androgynous being from moving to Atlanta in 2010. So from there, it kind of evolved, going to hair shows, being a part of, I used to do hair. And so being a part of that environment kind of nurtured also the acceleration of me understanding exactly where I wanted to be as a person.
And at what age would you say that realization came to you at?
So literally, it was the year of my of turning 23. It was actually November of turning 23. I had a physician who I happened to not know at the time was a man of trans experience. And after having that conversation with my auntie India and my brother Cody, I actually went to my doctor the next week and had a conversation with him about what it would take for me to start hormone therapy. And from there, he actually allowed me a week to think on exactly how I wanted to go about this process, because being on hormones does not mean that you're not trans, right? So for me, what I envisioned as a woman in my transition was that of taking hormones and becoming the visible, physical woman that I always saw in my mind and that I've always idolized, as far as my stepmother, as far as Vanessa Williams, as far as Robin Givens, all those type of women were what I idolized as womanhood. And I went forward with that. December of my 23rd birthday. So what? I'm 30 plus 1 now. So hey, that was a time span.
Okay. Now, as far as seeing what we see in images and in our Black community about of how they treat our trans women, and how we treat our trans women, especially from a family perspective, and then from a community perspective. Did you have to think long or hard if you wanted to be on that journey, or did none of that matter to you when you made your decision?
I've always been a rebel, right? I know a lot of people watching this have known me for years. I've been the same consistent person. As I explained to my parents the day I took my hormone shot, which was December 17th of that year of turning 23. From that day, I actually had a conversation with my parents and expressed to them who I felt I was and what was about to happen in my transition, what was expected from me of them. I think a lot of times we don't give that type of parallel as to informing our parental unit of exactly who we are and what we will and will not tolerate from our cisgender counterparts, be that mother, father, brother, sister, auntie, cousin, what have you. From there on, it just developed. I didn't really think of the risk because I didn't want to live this life in a space where I wasn't being exactly and authentically whom I had always wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no stopping that.
Mm-hmm. And so
I am a woman, so.
Mm-hmm. And to this day, and you know, because for people, you know, especially in the Black community, they feel like this is a mental illness. This is a, you know, you're just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going through a change. It's just a moment in time in your life. With all of those pressures put on you,
Mm-hmm.
what does it ever sway your thought process? You know how people can say so much to you, and sometimes you're like, well, maybe this might just be this, or maybe I might just be that.
No, this journey has been way more than just me. Seeing so many brilliant people like Cameron Pizzario, being graphic designers, and it happens to be a man of trans experience. Seeing my boyfriend Asher McQueen, who is a total fixture in his development of his organization. Seeing London, who's on this panel, and being able to interact with people who have graduated from collegiate spaces as previous beings and now have transitioned to others. The death of Tony McDade. These things are innate for me to be a part of. I was a part of the Black Lives convening in Cleveland, Ohio, and I think that was 2015, if I'm not mistaken, and really understanding what it meant to be a part of a Black body and having those Black forces stand behind me, where I was able to meet now someone that's running for a state senator in Georgia, Devin Barrington Ward. These things have been innate, and I've been following my journey truly and forward, and not worried about what someone else may think, which is the hard part. And I understand that I am one in a million of people who decide to act upon what I feel and the information I have received. But I refuse to not do the movement of myself to help others see that they can be exactly who they desire to be.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jennifer. We're gonna pop you back down, but we're gonna come back to you because we try to do this in steps.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Understood.
All right. Thank you, man.
Of course.
You know, because I think it's really important just to know where it started at.
Right.
You know, and
because it's different for everybody. Even in terms of being gay. You know, I knew at one age, you knew at a different age. It happens differently for everybody.
So we're gonna go to Dree next. So let's pop Dree out.
Dree,
what's up?
Okay, good. Your sound is good. Everything's good. All right. So Dree and I met through a mutual friend, and our mutual friend was following Dree on Instagram and was like, "Oh my God, you have to see this trans man, and you have to bring him on your podcast." Is actually what our mutual friend was saying. And so I had Dree on my podcast about a year ago.
Yep, last
year. And he was sharing his journey in terms of wanting to have his top surgery. And what we did not know at the time was when we were on that live, the people that were viewing started sending in the money to his Cash App, and he was able to raise the money right there on the live to have his top surgery.
Yep.
So just to kind of revisit some of the conversation that we had before, because remember, I know some of your story, but a lot of the people listening did not. And one of the questions that I felt comfortable asking you, because I have a rapport with you and because we've had this conversation before,
all right.
You at one point identified as a stud, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And so again, to the point that I was just saying, everybody's journey is different. So can you share with us when you knew that you weren't just a lesbian or a stud, but you were in fact a man?
Of course. Well, I grew up as a tomboy, so you know, I was with my mom a long time, and she put me in those girl clothes, but I still didn't feel how I felt, how I visualized myself on the inside. So as I grew up, you know, I started doing a little bit of different things, from tattooing to modeling, and you know, just really engaging with a lot of people. So by the time I got to Georgia State, I was really out there, you know, meeting a lot of different people, from lesbians to studs to butches. I mean, a lot of different folks. It's Atlanta period is big. So being downtown to meet of, you know, Georgia or whatever, I was really exposed to a lot of different things and people. And I kind of felt free. So I went hard with going with my modeling and whatnot. And I was doing it for a while, man. And it was just this one show I did. It was a little runway show. I was modeling some menswear clothing for this guy, like Jamaican background or whatnot. So anyway, man, once he got there and he looked at me, he was like, "Yo, who is this? You can't wear my shit. Excuse me." Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm excited about the show. I done did a little bit and I'm thinking I'm somebody. And just him coming in and making me feel like, damn, you know, you don't fit what I'm trying to do. So at that moment, my whole mindset changed. I just really started just tap into who I was and not let nobody break me down. So what else? After my college and my modeling days, I started tattooing, and I got the chance to tattoo this transman. And he was kind of in the process of already having his surgery. He was really living his life. So sitting there in the chair with him, talking to him or whatnot, he was just really giving me the game on his path and what he did. So I latched on to the information. I took the steps I needed to get myself going with my my therapy.
And when you say therapy, what do you mean your therapy?
Hormonal therapy.
Okay.
That started for me like 2016. So it's been real successful for me. I still take tea every week. I'm real devoted to it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but trans men use testosterone and trans women use estrogen, correct?
Correct. Yeah. But anyway, that's when I decided to just really put in the flesh what was in my mind about myself. Mm-hmm. So that's how it is, man. I don't know no other words to say.
Right.
So I know this question may sound like a trivial question, but do you feel that trans men, you know, being able to go through your journey and live your life is, and I don't want to discredit your journey, but do you feel that it's easier for a trans man to transition and navigate through society than it is for trans women to do?
Sure. You know, I really can't even say for others, right? You know, because it's different. You know, mm-hmm. Some people, they know how to handle rejection and being looked at and just all that misgendering. Mm-hmm. But it is a challenge. I'll say that. For some, they can handle it, and for some, it's possible. As long as if you got the mindset, hey, this is my life, you know what I'm saying? Do you? I'm not mm-hmm. saying nobody's gonna talk about you, because it is what it is. But this is your life, and when you gone, that's it. You can't be like, you know, I should have avoided what that person said about me, or I should have went on ahead and made myself smile that day. You just go for what you want to do. Don't worry about nobody else. But right about now, I think it is a challenge, you know what I'm saying? Because people don't really know a lot about the trans community. And then when they find out what you were born, it's like, ugh, they just, I done been through it. I could tell you some shit, so yeah.
And I mean, it was important for us to have trans men and trans women on this panel, because most of us are familiar with trans women,
yeah.
Even though we're to even trans women, mm-hmm. but we're more familiar with that story. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I had never really heard of the trans man story. I never knew a trans man personally mm-hmm. until Dree. And I just thought it was important to share that journey because, again, I want us to have a conversation as we continue this conversation about the divide between even the trans community, the trans men and trans women. Mm-hmm. And I Hope would be the best person to kind of open that part of the conversation up. Dree, we're going to drop you down and bring you right back up.
All right.
This is my girl, Hope.
Hey, y'all.
How you doing, Hope?
I'm good.
Now, Hope is an activist, but tell us all that you do, and then we'll jump into.
So I am what I like to call an artivist, right? Activist, throwing activism and art, all types of mediums together. I'm sorry, y'all, if I'm tired. I literally just came from marching for Tony out there at City Hall. So I'm like,
yes,
I'm like tired and busted. But So I am an activist. I'm an advocate, which are two different things that people usually don't know know that. I'm an author. I'm an inclusion specialist for a lot of major companies like Netflix and BuzzFeed. And that simply means that I go in and I teach people how to treat people of different intersections of life, how to live by contract. But those are just a couple of little things that I do outside of like the social media activism and then also the policy activism that I do on a daily.
So I know because Hope came to the show that we did the Queen Supreme Court show in it was DC, right?
Yeah.
Came to the show in DC. That's when we first got acquainted. And then since we've done shows with Madison on live like this. And last week we kind of bumped heads, we kind of crossed communication, but we figured it out. It was just, we did fix it. We did fix it. And I got messages for days from people, but we fixed it. And I'll tell you, I'm glad that we fixed it. But I will also say, before you came on, I was saying that this is the first panel that Derek and I have done that gave me pause, that made me anxious, that made me nervous, because I don't want to be the person that says the wrong thing. In an effort to try, like I said, I brought Dree on my podcast and we had a conversation. And there were a couple times that I was very, very good in gendering him and saying he and him. But every now and then, in an effort to try to explain in the comments, I slipped and said she or her or something like that. Baby, for days, they ate me up in the comments on YouTube. And I'm like, well, you see, I was putting my best foot forward. But I wanted to just be completely transparent and say, I was once one of those people that was completely ignorant to the trans community. And it's amazing to me, looking at my life now and the work that I do with Madison being one of the most famous trans women in the world. You couldn't have told me 5 years ago that I would be this close in a friendship and in business with a trans woman or trans person, period. Now, of course, Jasmine Monet was in my stage play, but many years ago, but that was very different because she was a cast member and we didn't have the friendship that Madison and I have developed. I still was very much so ignorant to a lot of the things. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you, not that I was ever a person that would be tweeting or posting anything negative about trans people, but I did have a wall up, even being a part of the LGBTQ community, because I knew that being too close to a trans woman, because again, I had no knowledge of trans men at this point, being too close to a trans woman or even a flamboyant gay guy would mean cutting out a particular type of guy that I would have been interested in because that was just too out. And so but I realized looking back that had nothing to do with trans people. It was my own ignorance. It was my own internalized homophobia. And what I will say is, as you come out of the closet, you have the responsibility to do your due diligence and to do the work of reteaching yourself the things that you taught yourself while you were locked in that closet. And it's a lifelong journey, you know? So I did definitely want to come out and say that, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people, gay men in particular, because one of the conversations that you and I had, Hope, the other day too was, or actually I was watching your live last night, and we're going to talk about the young lady that got attacked in Minnesota. But you did a video last night and you were talking about it. And you said that Black gay men have a lot of times abandoned trans women. And trans women, you said this so eloquently, are the matriarch of the gay community. And I never looked at it that way. Now, I've always known that you guys were the leaders. And it was because of you that we were able to walk through the door, you know, because you broke down those barriers. But I never heard somebody say the matriarch.
Now, Hope, if you haven't talked to Craig before, you know he always makes things back about himself. He brought you up. Hope, where this whole 5 minute monologue came from.
No. I was really just trying to connect with any gay man that may be watching, because what I will tell you is,
hey, we brought Hope up.
But let me say this, because Hope, trust me, Hope's going to take this. What I'm clear is, it's only become in vogue in the past few years that gay boys have even been close to trans women, going to the clubs, because those things have even been separated. When I first moved to Atlanta, trans women went to this club over here or that club, and gay men went over here. But now we see a slight blending.
Okay. So can we talk to Hope now?
Go ahead, Hope.
What's so funny about that is when I was in high school, me and my best friend used to call that pulling a Tyra, because no matter who Tyra would have on the show, Tyra would make it about Tyra.
Yes.
Wait. I was really just trying to be forthcoming.
It's okay. It's okay.
No.
Craig just pulled a Tyra.
Yeah.
Let me say this now. If I sat here and said nothing, he was very standoffish. He didn't even want to talk to the trans people. Okay, go ahead.
Well, so for you, when did you know that you were trans?
Somewhere around, I think like 18, but 19 was when I kind of sort of confirmed it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was very fine. Like I was fine being like a little flamboyant, extra ridiculously feminine gay Black boy. Like I was perfectly fine with that until I wasn't. And for me, I think doing what I like to call fake drag in college, I was just a really great dancer. But I couldn't do makeup for shit. I didn't know nothing about pads. I didn't know nothing about nothing. But I went to Alabama State University in Montgomery. So most of the drag was like, it wasn't like going to Atlanta and trying to compete against the real girls, right? So I auditioned for this club owner, and the only reason that I got it was because I could dance, and the rest of the girls were more so like, they were beauty pageant girls, and I would come out and I would just kill it, and the crowd would go crazy because I was a dancer. And a lot of the girls backstage were just like, look, the owners let you on cast, but if you're gonna be here, you need to dress up, you need to get you some pads, you need to do this, that, and the third. And like over time, because it was, for me, that was money to pay my cell phone bill and to not have to eat in the calf. I'm a broke college student, you know what I'm saying? But for them, this was like a profession. They were traveling outside of this show and all that other stuff. And I think about maybe 6 months to a year in, one day I go to do a show, just my regular Saturday night show. And I come back, I go to sleep, I wake up, and whenever, like, the way that my bed was set up was that as soon as I sit up, I'm looking at myself. There's a mirror there. And this particular night before, I was tired. I didn't take my wig off, didn't take no makeup off. I don't remember how I got out of my dress. And I sit up, my hair is out of the stocking cap. I don't have on a shirt. My makeup is fuzzy. I got one lash on, one lash, God knows where. And that was the first time in my life that I felt ugly. Because I've never been an ugly or unattractive person. And that was the first time I looked at myself and I did not like what I saw. And I realized that it was because it was this hybrid of something. And I was like, I don't like this. And after that day, I had other moments where if I was not dressed in women's clothes fully, I did not feel comfortable.
Got it.
And so I think it was just like a random like Tuesday or something like that. And I woke up and I did not want to go to class. I was just tired. Something was in my spirit, just sitting heavy on me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my hair and I'm going to go to the calf late and I'm going to push through and I'm going to get out of this funk. So let's do some natural hair tutorials and let's see what we can get popping on his head. And a video of Janet Mock popped up. I don't know why. I don't know how. If you've ever seen Janet Mock, her hair is kind of like mine. And so I guess maybe somebody typed in curly hair under a hashtag for her video. I don't know. But this woman pops up. And at first I'm like, damn, her hair is bomb. But what is she talking about? And why is this not a hair tutorial? And who is she? And then I realized that she's saying this transgender word. And I'm like, what's that? And so now it went from one video to 12 videos of this woman, this Black transgender person. And before I know it, I'm sitting there like, that's it. That's me. That's okay. I get it now. And that day I literally went through my clothes. I threw out all of my male tennis shoes, anything that I had that looked like it could pass for men's belongings. I threw it in the trash or I mailed it back to my little brother. And I essentially started to just like visually transition just on campus. It went from just doing drag at the club on Friday and Saturday to me wearing some of my drag costumes around campus. And then eventually a trans man by the name of Caleb, he ended up coming to Alabama State like the next semester. And he was the brains behind everything else. Caleb was he is from a small island, St. Croix. And when he got away from his mom, his whole goal was to transition. And so Caleb came to Alabama State with a mission. He wanted to know where the hormones were, where the therapists were, how he was going to get it. And because he saw himself in me, I was the only trans person there before him. We linked up, and Caleb is the reason that hope is hope. Caleb is the reason that I got my name changed. Caleb is the reason that I was able to get on hormones. Caleb is the reason that I like started to see myself actually wearing women's clothing and not being a caricature of you know, my drag clothes, because that's all I had. Caleb is the reason for a lot of that stuff. And so that's kind of like how I got started, and that's how I fell into fruition. But that was at like 19. I know a lot of people say like they feel it from the time that they're like a baby, but like hope didn't come along until I was well into adulthood.
Right. Now, and also, so not being that you were in adulthood, the same question I asked Jennifer is that seeing how the world treats trans women, especially women that's newly going into their transition. Did that thought come across your mind at all, or were you just focused on your life?
I was angry. And I think to an extent, if I'm being completely transparent with myself, there's still a part of me that's like always angry. That's just always mad. And so I think knowing that I had all this pent up aggression and that I don't mind fighting you, like, I think that was the thing that kind of, like, if I'm being completely honest, like, I don't mind slapping you down. I don't mind challenging male authority. I don't mind challenging female authority. And so for me, I don't think it was ever one of those moments where I was just like, oh shit, look at what's happening. It was always a moment like, bitch, I wish you would. Because if y'all do it to me, y'all gonna regret it. And I can't say that there's not a moment, and I hate to wish it on myself, knock on wood, I don't wish it on anybody, but there's always a moment where I'm like, I wish I was Ayana. Because y'all would be the ones on the headline newspapers if I was her, because there was too many bottles in that store. You know, and so and I hate that it's like that, but I feel like out of all of the Martin Luther Kings and you know, all of that stuff, I'm the Malcolm X, and I'm ready to take it there, because until we do to them what they've done to us, they're not going to understand, because the police pull up, and even if you're the most passable bitch in the world, once somebody even insinuates it, if an officer is homo or transphobic, now they're both kikiing, even though you're a victim in the situation. And so in order for y'all to get it, we're going to have to start making you all victims. And I think that's always been my thing. Like, I knew what I was signing up for when I signed off to be, you know, who I am. And I'm willing to fight for that. I'm willing to put my body on the line for that. I'm willing to die for that. And I mean that quite literally. Because I just feel like until they see that, until they see bitches really out here windmilling for their lives, they're never gonna get it. And so I'm gonna be that person that's gonna show you, like, you're not gonna say what you want to say over here. You're not gonna do what you want to do to my body. You're not gonna make me feel inferior and think that I'm just gonna sit there and take it. So you can laugh, but I'm gonna laugh back, and then we both just gonna be laughing, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We want to go around and just get everybody's story of like when they knew they were trans, and then we're gonna move into the meat and potatoes.
Okay, so we're gonna bring up Jamel next.
Hey Jamel.
Hey Jamel, you're on mute. So for me, I met Jamel through Jennifer because I was doing my Gay Like Me. I was doing my Gay Like Me documentary, and I wanted to have different type of representation in the opening. And why are you moving?
Because it hears background noise.
Oh, okay, got you. In the representation in the opening. Sorry, y'all. He just threw me off. Craig over here doing too much. And so Jennifer, she referred Jamel to me, and I was just like, oh, you sure that I asked for a trans man? Are you sure we did the right situation? She was like, yeah, no, here. And I'm like, okay. So, but I met Jamel, and it's such an amazing person. And you know, he was always willing to share his story. He was always willing to talk and be able to and educate. So that's why I asked him here today. So Jamel, if you playing this in the background, Jamel, turn that down. Are you not playing in the background? Okay, cool.
What's up, yo? What's good? What's good? What's good?
We're good. How are you?
You know, I'm making it out.
So, and I meant to ask Dree this question too, because now with all the stuff going on, well, let's start first. First, when did you know that you were trans?
Well, I identified as a masculine body really from the beginning of time. I mean, I really always was in touch with my masculine side, whether it's through sports, whether it's through liking girls. My first crush was my second grade art teacher, Miss Dent. But I didn't even know about the word trans until I was an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to that, you know, more so even in my relationships with girls throughout my teenage years, I always felt and identified as a different boy. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Most of that I was with, if not nearly all of them, they weren't lesbians. You know what I'm saying? I was really either they first or they only. And it was always identified as the different boy, or, you know what I'm saying? So I would say that 8th grade was when I declared hood. You know, because prior to that, I'm 33, so 8th grade was like early 2000s, I guess, and so that was a time where being a tomboy was kind of acceptable. You know, loving ball, you got a Leah, you know, things like that. So it was a little easier to transition around that time, to transition into my masculinity at that time, because kind of prior to that, I would kind of straddle the fence. You know, like, you know, I was always pretty or attractive or whatever, but had a little masculine swag, and I just kind of played the fence to make it, you know, I never wanted people to be uncomfortable type thing. I always was kind of very careful about that. But around 8th grade, and I think my relationship is what really inspired me to just be myself. You know, they begged me to wear a dress for my prom, and that was the last time that I ever put girl clothes on again. After that, cut my hair, braids, everything. Don't call me no girl. This is me. I'm the nigga. What up? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. So to finish the answer though, it wasn't until I joined the military and I was, you know, the queer, the LGBT community there kind of exposed me to the ballroom scene, and that's when I saw Marquise was the first trans guy that I saw, and so when I saw that, I finally had something to identify with. Like, oh, hold up, that's me. That's what I need. I need that right now, or however, whenever. You know I'm saying that's when I could put an actual word on it. I knew about trans women, but I knew nothing about, you know, being able to transition from female to male.
Mm-hmm. So how did you learn how to transition?
So when I got out the military in 2008, came back to Atlanta in 2009. By that time, you know, me and my best friend was like really on it. Like, nah, this is what we got to do. So we really just went straight to the internet. Back then it was like Downey Linked and Yahoo and shit like that. And I actually stumbled across a support group named Tilt, in which RIP, the founder, my mother Cheryl, she kind of just took me under her wing and she introduced me to my first trans guy, who is like my mentor to this day. And he took me under his wing as well. And so took me to the doctor, and he gave me my first shot. You know, once we talked about how this works, I had to read some research. I went to a couple of therapy sessions. I went to some group sessions. And then once we kind of decided, like, I'm ready for this, I just followed directions.
Okay. Now I'm gonna drop for this next question. I'm gonna bring Dree back up because I should have asked Dree this question too, but I would like both of y'all to answer it. Dree.
All right.
Okay, so
I'm here.
With everything that's happening right now, especially all the violence against Black men, and how does that make you guys feel? Because
with all the what that's going on,
with all the violence and everything, all with the Black Lives Matter, but all the police violence against Black men, and
do you feel like you're a target?
Absolutely, it's nerve-wracking every time I leave this door, and I'm saying I feel it in police, but the white lady that walked past me and hold her purse, and people that feel nervous just because I'm Black and maybe a little masculine or maybe a little urban, it's definitely nerve-wracking. And I recently was incarcerated last year and went through that whole process, and it's nerve-wracking. You know what I'm saying? And especially in this time right now, it's heightened where just being Black can get you killed, but now I'm Black and trans. Like, that's a double threat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And for you, Dree?
Well, it is kind of scary, you know what I'm saying? This type of stuff I'm used to seeing at school or in history books, documentaries, anything like back in the day. So, you know, I work at Amazon and I didn't know that all this stuff was going on downtown. And, you know, they quick to send me down there to deliver. So I done seen everything from the federal buildings to police to homeless people to white people in the fancy neighborhoods, everything. I done even seen black people that look at me like I'm, you know, like I'm somebody. I don't know, but anyway, it just makes me feel like, okay, you know, it's time to get prepared for whatever happens. You know what I'm saying? Spiritually, I prepared myself because I'm real big on, you know, talking to the Lord and using Him to guide me through whatever happens, because this is His world at the end of the day, no matter who the president or if you don't like me or not. But
So
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just take stuff for what it is, and me just being who I am, I don't really pay attention to the news as much. I really don't watch TV because every time I turn it on, it's just always killing and stuff. I'm trying to keep myself educated and socially aware of what's going on because I do be out there every day, every morning. So it is eye-opening. I'll say that. I'm ready to get strapped up with a gun, you know what I'm saying, just to protect myself. I carry a switchblade. So if anybody want to come with that type stuff, just got to keep ourselves, man. Got to keep ourselves ready, regardless of what happens.
So my follow-up question to Derek's question is: with all of the black trans women that are being killed, do you feel compelled to speak up, to stand up, to do something?
Of course, no matter if it's a girl or a boy.
And a lot of times we do. I'm sorry, bro, to cut you off. By the way, nice to meet you, bro. But a lot of times when you see at the rallies, you will see trans guys with the signs that are black trans women or trans women, period, matter, lives matter. Like we absolutely are there to support our trans girls, 100%.
Okay. We're going to drop you guys both back down. We're going to get the rest of our panel through, and then we're going to come back with the meat. Let's see. Hey, London.
You're
muted. I'll unmute you.
Okay. She has to unmute.
Maybe I was probably muted. Hey, y'all.
Okay, that's okay. Well, I want to say one thank you because I know that you are leaving from a repast from one of your dear friends, and I want to say thank you for taking the time out to be here and talking with us about this topic.
I appreciate it. You know, it would only be in her spirit for me to do this. You know what I mean? One of the things that she loved the most about me was my ability to be able to publicly speak and to talk about the issues. And so, you know, this is how I keep her memory alive. And, you know, this is the idea to create a show just like you guys are doing, but it was called Politically Incorrect, where we were two different people and what we used to do. So I appreciate it.
Well, I just have to say hello because I haven't seen you in forever. And I'm not going to make it about me, but I'm going to make it about me because London was in my stage play back in 2002. That was when we first met.
Oh my God! Yes, 2002. Oh my God, it was that long.
Okay, now because I know you, and I know I can ask you questions because I'm
be quiet.
When I met you, you had not transitioned yet,
right?
And I know you tell your story. You're open about your story, so I'm not going to share anything that you haven't already shared. But you were a student at Morehouse College. You hadn't transitioned yet. You were a student at Morehouse College, and I remember.
And not only was I a student at Morehouse College, but I got expelled at Morehouse because of being in your play too. We'll get to that part too.
And but do you remember?
You don't remember that part too, Craig?
Well, but do you remember when but for those of you that are watching, many of you may remember. But do you remember London, the young boy who got hit in
the boy who was beat with the bat?
With the bat in the shower.
Hit with the bat. Yes. Right. Yes, I definitely do. That's how we actually started. Safe Space at Morehouse. Safe Space at Morehouse was started. And a second. Hold on 1 second, okay? Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
She's trying to get them together. but as she was saying, Safe Space was Morehouse.
Okay. Yeah. So Safe Space
organization.
Right.
But go ahead. But yeah, so and I remember coming to
Safe Space was started and
go ahead. And I came to the college and you were on a panel and you were talking about how you had been attacked, or not verbally attacked, by not just students, but also.
And I was called a fantasy creature.
You were called a fantasy creature.
Yes.
And
So basically, yeah. So so let me just give you. So basically, I in my matriculation at Morehouse, being it is an all male institution, and me being very flamboyant in how I present, or I skewed the lines of gender. I wore purses and I wore heels at an all male school, but I did not have a name for how I wanted to identify. It just was very androgynous. And at the Morehouse panel, I referred to myself as a fantasy creature. And so and to this day, when we go to like major like Morehouse events, people always put that news article in we have a Morehouse Spelman alumni Facebook group, and they always put that article up and talk about it. Because that is what kind of opened up the doors around conversations with gender at Morehouse. So during my matriculation, there was a gentleman named Aaron Price and Greg Love. Okay, so Greg Love, it was actually an underclassman when I was an upperclassman, but he was a part of a group of people that were putting crosses, they were putting holy water on my children's doors that went to school. So I was Mother Morehouse. They used to call me Mother Morehouse. The chief of police, when the students had a problem, they would come and get me. I would go to the chief of police, Chief Worthy. He knew me very well. They knew me. I got respect. So the younger LGBT, it was mostly gay. It wasn't people trained for school. So the younger gay guys would come to me, and I would always protect them. And so my son was getting bullied by this particular person who was actually the one who got attacked later on, because they were a part of that whole thing. New Birth was just starting around the school, and it was kind of like a cult. New Birth was like a cult at Morehouse and Spelman. There would be a van to pick you up outside the gate, and we used to call it the cult. And now it's turned into a mega church, whatever else. But back when we were in school, we used to think of it as a cult because of the way that things operated. They used to put the crosses on people's doors, and so can you have to be quiet, please? They have to be quiet. And so what would happen was they would try to fight them in the middle of the corridor. And so that same guy, he ended up becoming gay later on at during his matriculation. He became gay. And so once he became gay later on in his matriculation, he decided that the gentleman that was at school who had the bat, he beat him with the bat. And that was the first time a hate crime had been tried in Georgia. That was the first time ever. You see DeAndre Tristan. I see DeAndre. Hey, DeAndre. But that was the first time that was the first time that a hate crime had ever been tried in the state of Georgia, and it was with that case. And so, and of course, it didn't go through. Right. They did not let it be a hate crime. You knew that was not going to happen. Right. But around that same time, I was on campus, and I was being taunted and picked on, and I was well respected. An underclassman was doing this to me. And I had a gun in my purse, or it was a fake gun that was on. That I was a star in Craig's play. I starred in once on this A Day in the Life. A Day in the Life. Yeah. Which was I was TJ and Craig's play, which was an amazing play. Tyler Perry was one of our supporters before Tyler Perry even blew up. Tyler Perry had not even blown up yet. Craig was already on it. Okay, we were doing numbers. They wanted us to come back. It was a big deal. They'd never seen anything like it. It was trans women on Jasmine Bonet was in the play. Sophia McIntosh. This was a big deal before there was any of this publicity around trans or LGBTQ. Yeah. Craig had already had this play going on and was trying to kind of bridge the gaps back in 2002. And so we had a nice retreat and all these things to try to bond us. Yeah. And so I had the gun. It was in my I had a black Prada bag. I was at school and it fell open. And so they said that I brandished a weapon, right? Yeah. So I was expelled. And it made the news. It was on the news. It was a really, really big deal. It was on the news and everything. So once that happened, it opened up the gates for a larger conversation. And so then I was walking on campus, and a physical education teacher decided to tell a group of boys to attack me. He was like, don't you see this person is, what is that? It was a bunch of Q dogs. They were like brothers to me at school. See, regardless of how I presented, they respected me. And so they came back and they said, no, that's that's our people. We're not. So I went to the president at the time, who was Massey, Dr. Massey. And that's how sensitivity training started at Morehouse, because when they tried to do the attack on me, that's how the sensitivity training started at the school. So I was a big part of a lot of the things that started there. And they started that Mean Girls of Morehouse article. I was one of the ones that originally was talking about. So.
Right. Now, when did you know?
It's mute. It's no sound.
You can
There's
hear me?
no sound on y'all's end.
Oh, you got. Okay.
I don't hear your sound. No, I don't hear sound. Y'all can hear me talking, right?
I can hear you.
I can't hear y'all.
Okay, so
go out and come
back in.
Because I have a question. I really wanted to ask her. She lighting them up in the background. You still can't hear us?
I don't understand. Y'all
no.
Okay, just leave out and come
back in.
You think I need to? Let me see.
I'm gonna help you.
Yeah.
Push your eye. There we go. Push your eye. So we're gonna jump to Jai.
Yes.
Hey, Jai. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you. No problem. And thank you for your patience. Because we got some talkers on here, honey.
Yes,
between Craig and the guest child, we'll be here for 4 hours.
Okay, but I need to get with the family. I'm mad. I don't know everybody. Y'all all know each other and stuff.
Well, listen, we know you now because this is Jai. Jai messaged me when I posted yesterday that we were going to be having this conversation. It was someone else that got up under my comment and was like, they probably gonna have a bunch of trans women up there that aren't really women, they don't present as women, and they probably talk about their dick and like all of this was in my comments. And then Jai commented with 100 and said, I need to be a part of this panel. And so I messaged her and I sent her the email, and so here she is.
Yes. So let's talk. So talk to me about your journey, Jai. So when did you know that trans was the journey for you?
I knew the trans. Well, all my life I've been flamboyant. I moved to Atlanta 10 years ago, and I'm 28 years old, and I really like the other girl. I forgot her name just that quick, but I didn't really know much about trans. I knew that I was always very flamboyant. And I used to go out to the gay clubs and stuff, and I used to always see Amaya, and I just fell in love, and I was just like, that's me. I loved how she carried herself, how she had her hair, how she was just like very classy and stuff. So over the years, I worked on myself. I was like working regular jobs, and I got this one job, and it was actually with the lesbian lady. She owned her own mobile food business. Like we traveled to different cities doing festivals and stuff. And we were just driving one day, and she was just like, you know what, John? Like, I don't care. She was like, if you want to come out here and drag, if you want to come out here and just dress up and be yourself, I don't care. And what she say that for? The next day I came out with my booty shorts on, with my little shirt tied up to the back. And, so like over time, I just like transitioned over time with that job. And it just eventually followed me into my adult life. I just got comfortable. That was my very first time being comfortable. She had like a lot of men working for her, like straight men. And they were like older men, like she needed the manpower. So being around them, it made me feel comfortable, although it took them a minute to get comfortable. But once they got comfortable, it made me feel more comfortable to go out there into the world and be like, okay, maybe this is not so bad. People just have to be around trans girls to understand and see, instead of what they've heard, they just have to be around you to see and feel and see how you act and move and stuff like that. So yeah, that was my first time.
Now, how old were you when you knew that this was this is a journey you wanted to take?
I can't even the age. I don't remember, but I do know that it was 10th grade in high school, because we had went out on break. I was, like regular flamboyant boy. I had a haircut. And we had like some kind of break. So I grew my hair out over the break. And when I went back to school, I had yarn braids. So like from there on, like and every day I would go home, and play dress up. I would like close all the doors, come downstairs, put on the show for my family. They thought it was funny at the time or whatever, not knowing that it was a drag show. But I'd say ever since like 10th grade, so I had to be like what 16 or 17 years old.
Now, once the same I've asked all the ladies is that when knowing and seeing how the world treats and accepts trans women, did that deter you from? Well, obviously not. But did you think about that when you were going through your journey? Like, you know, you wouldn't be accepted, or you may have some type of hate crime or things or something like that happen to you. Did that ever go through your mind that you was going through your transition?
Nah, I wouldn't say not. Kind of, sort of, because like every girl, like I've had my bad moments where you like, look, like maybe this is not for me or something. But for the most part, like I said, as I grew into my transition, it became like easier. Like I said, people, they kind of know. I kind of like people kind of feel they know who, even though they may know you, they know who's serious and who's just dressing up and putting on stuff. I feel like it's all about how you carry yourself, how you treat other people. Of course, there are going to be ignorant people. That's just in the world, whether you gay, straight, fat, black, or skinny, or whatever the case may be. But as I grew into my transition and got comfortable with myself, as far as the hate crime, I would tell all the girls, just be aware, like know the places you're supposed to be and not supposed to be. Know the type of crowds that you're not supposed to be around. We all know, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. Although some situations are unfortunate or whatever, but as far as like, I kind of like stay away from, places that I know I'm not supposed to be, even though I want to be there or whatever the case may be. Stay away from those type of men, those type of people. I'll go to the fucking Walmart way across town before I go to the one where I know I'm going to run into trouble. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's just the life. That's what comes with this lifestyle.
Okay. Thank you, Jack. We'll pop you back up again. Okay.
So I wanted to ask London.
Can you hear us, London?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I apologize. I don't know if it's the iPad. This is that new iPad. And I'm like, it's so weird. It does weird stuff. I'm like,
no, you good,
that's
baby.
Fine. But I wanted to ask you because, as I said before, I knew you before you transitioned, and I remember, you probably don't remember this, but I remember you said to me, Craig, I'm getting titties, and I was just like, why? You're like, again, this is pre-knowledge, pre-anything.
Well, I didn't want to tell you then, but I was already I used to take so I used to I was already, my thing was I never wanted to be like that girl that wasn't like together. Like that's just me, like, and not meaning like a girl who doesn't get trans does not mean you have to be. It's the difference between medical transition, and you do not have to go and get your breast done. You do not have to take hormones. You do not have to do anything. But for me, there was a certain type of girl that I saw myself as, and the girls that I hung with, like I actually trained them to be the girls that they are. Hello.
So how did you? At what age did you know you were not a gay boy?
My sophomore year, like at Morehouse, I used to take Premarin, right? I used to take estrogen, and I knew, like, so with me, I've always knew that I was a girl. Like, there was never a question. So when people always ask, "What age did you transition?" That's like not the appropriate thing to typically ask a trans person, because like, or when did you know you wanted to transition? Because it's like, for me, it's when did I want to acknowledge, acknowledge who I really was. And so like for me, I've known since I was a child. Like I've known as a kid, I would sit on the toilet and pee. I would, as a child, I would play mothers and fathers. I was always the mother. My grandmother had this thing where she more so had a problem with little boys coming in the basement, but not little girls, because she kind of she knew, like, with me and just how feminine I was. And so at Morehouse, I started taking Premarin. I was getting like breasts, and I would be like, oh my God, let me cover up wear a shirt, because like, there was a boy in my statistics class. I used to I love him. He was an alpha. He was everything. I used to pretend like I was stupid and didn't understand statistics, and asked him to come over and tutor me. And, he'd be like,
when I say I hate you,
he used to be like, you're really smart. I don't think that you need my help. I just saw you do the work. I'm like, oh. And then he's like, he picks me up and puts me on his lap and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh, so you like me too? No, but he did. But around that time, I was just like, you know what? Maybe for me, I just saw a lot of girls used to do a lot of like sex work and stuff, right? When I was in school. And I used to be like, I would start to equate like, is this what you like? It was very confusing for me because at the time my roommate was trans. Her name was Tori Courtney Cox, and she would, and I saw that trans girls used to make all this money. They had a lot, like the girls that I hung around, they would have all this money. They would have all these things, and I just would I would be wondering what they were doing. You know what I mean? Like, why is it they're getting these things? And I was like, oh, okay, this is what they're doing. And for me, a lot of them would be, and this is like, and again, this is for me talking like from a place of like being comfortable and just like in a safe space and just whatever. But they would talk about like their parts. And for me, certain things is where it caused gender dysphoria. So again, being trans is not what's between your legs, but what's between your ears and between your lungs, right? It is a sociological construct. It is not a biological one. Our minds are trained and conditioned and through patriarchal colonialism to think with that binomial nomenclature about male and female bodies and about the body and about what the body does and its function, right? About like, okay, women give birth, women have babies. So that means you're a woman, or women have periods. But there are women who are barren. There are women who can't have periods. There are women who grow mustaches. There are women who have penises, right? There are women who have penises too. Mm-hmm. There are men who have vaginas, right? There are. Being a trans man, you are a man. A trans woman, you are a woman. Period. There's no question around it. And so for me, I started to be like, well, am I would be curious, like, if are you supposed to, does transitioning mean that it has an end, right? A lot of people would always think like, well, when you finish your transition, but that's not the appropriate thing to ever ask a trans person, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you never ask a trans person when you're, because everyone does not have the goal to have SRS, right? Mm-hmm. So
explain SRS, sexual
reassignment. Is sexual reassignment surgery, or gender confirmation surgery, or gender affirmation surgery. And some people decide that instead of them, that's not for them, and they actually like to use all of their parts, right? But that does not make them not trans, right? It does not make that. It does not make them less of a woman, because again, when you look at sexual orientation and gender identity, they are two mutually exclusive things, right? A person who is trans has the ability to be gay or lesbian. I could be a trans woman and be attracted to other trans women, and I'm a lesbian. My girlfriend downstairs, she's a trans woman and she has a crush on me. It is what it is. But so, and if she was to decide to use her parts, if she was to decide to use her penis, that doesn't make her less of a woman, and it doesn't mean that she would be straight. Like if messing with another woman, because it's not the action that you do in the bedroom, it's the attraction, right? A lot of times people get that confused. It's like, okay, well, if a man enjoys anal sex, does that mean that he's gay? No, that doesn't mean that he's gay, because if he's attracted to a woman who has a penis, or if he's attracted to a woman who's pegging him, then he's not gay, because it's the attraction, not the act. Just like being trans is who you go to bed as, not who you go to bed with. And so like people need to understand, and I had to teach myself that, because when my girlfriend was saying, this is what we do, I'm a trans woman, and this and that, and I would be like, well, I don't, I could never, I didn't understand for me. So every person, every trans person along the spectrum is not the same. Mm-hmm. Everybody's story is not the same. For me, I have passing privilege. Mm-hmm. I have light skin privilege. Like, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I have light skin privilege. I have passing privilege. I have access to certain resources and things, but the difference with me and other people that may have privilege is that I use my privilege to, I get into spaces, I get into tables, I sit at those tables, and I make sure that I change the menu so that everybody can eat. And if you don't have the opportunity to come to sit at the table with me, I'm going to take a doggy bag home with me, and I'm going to share what I got at that dinner table with you. And the next time I come back again, I'm going to make sure that that menu was already changed. And so it's very disheartening for me to see that the like any of the infighting that may go on with people when it comes to like how someone presents. And I'm currently dealing with a situation like that now, about how I present and it being uncomfortable for someone, right? And someone having an issue with me and turning a private issue or personal issue into something where you try to affect, your career or your space. Mm-hmm. We should all have freedom of speech and be able to say what we want. And she said light skin privilege. Yes, I did, because it's the truth though. It is the truth.
Okay, let us hold right there.
Yeah, stay right there.
And then we're gonna
because actually you're all of that allowed us to bring in the next person that we're bringing in. And that is Miss.
Hey, it was the perfect intro because London said not everyone transitions the same at the same time. Just because a trans woman wants to use her penis doesn't mean that she's less trans. And you and I have had personal conversations, and I know that you love FTM, female to male.
You're not gonna introduce me first, Craig?
Flame Monroe. Flame Monroe.
Your long-winded. Look, your long-winded ass. First of all, I like the girl. I like the girl who just went off, and my favorite line that she said was, "It's not what you go. It's not how you go to bed. It's who you go to bed as."
No,
baby. That right there. Well, I'm high. I had 2 gummies waiting on to come my turn, so I'm good and high. Whatever the case may be, that was my favorite line that she said. I liked her. And I'm sitting here listening to all the ladies and gentlemen, and I'm telling you, I'm old school, so I'm actually learning with you all because I don't know all the terminology and I don't know all the verbiage. So I'm sitting and I'm listening as well. I was intrigued, especially with Daddy, with the 2 FTMs. Both of them was Daddy. Good God!
Now I will say this, Flame. So if you guys don't know Flame Monroe, you've been in the industry working as a comedian for a long time, but you just really busted the doors open with your
Netflix special.
But not Netflix. No, not before Netflix, but with the
BET thing.
No, child. The
Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club.
Okay. Well, the Breakfast Club came as a result of the Netflix.
I understand
special.
that, right. but everybody didn't watch the Netflix special. But you made a whole lot of waves with your opinions on just in the trans community, and people were they just wasn't having it with you. But
right.
But for you, I understood where you were coming from.
Well, it was my opinion. When I spoke for myself, I didn't speak for the trans community or for the trans experience. I spoke for Flame Monroe, and I think I acknowledged that 2 or 3 times on the show. Mm-hmm. But people are so willing to listen to hear what they want as opposed to listening to what I'm saying, and they want to respond to what they think. I'm not combative or argumentative against my community. I am still part of the community, whether they believe it or not. And I'm for the community when it's a major issue. I'm not for the community when it's some bullshit, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's not worth the fight. You fighting over the small stuff, but meanwhile, the current administration is trying to do away with all the LGBT community. Let's fight for the war and not the battle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, speaking about the trans experience being different, for you, you do have children,
mm-hmm.
And you spoke about that on you spoke about that. Well, you speak about it openly. So, how is that experience? With having children and being trans and raising them. How's that experience for you and for them?
Well, like the other young lady said, this is not what I set out to do. Having children, I wanted one. I did want one, but my pullout game ain't shit. Let me say that. Secondly, I always wanted to have their mom in their life so that I would be in a committed relationship so I could go work, because that's my mentality. I want to work and make the money. You stay home, take care of the kids. When I'm not on the road working, I'm home. But it just didn't work out like that. So I had to play the hand that was dealt to me. Mm-hmm. My children I was like this when they were conceived. So none of that I never had to change. So there was no explaining. My children love and know me. But I want to go back to the first question about when did I know that I wanted to transition? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I knew when I was young. I knew very young that I wanted to do girly things. I was always an old high-end sissy living in the project. And I say sissy because that's how I grew up. Those are the words and terminology that I used in my era. So if anybody is offended, y'all know I don't care. That's what you got to know. If you know me, you know I don't care if you get offended. Second of all, that was the word that was used for me. So I was old high and sissy. And when I saw Beverly LaSalle on All in the Family in '76, it was the first drag queen I had ever seen. I knew that episode changed my life forever because I knew I was not the only one. And this is who I wanted to be. But that was in '76. I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
Tell my age right there.
So the 10. So when did you start and decide to make the transition?
I started wearing girls' clothes at home, sneaking when I was like 12 and 13. I used to wear girl sweaters and stuff when I was in high school, but I never took hormones or anything like that until I was 19.
Okay.
I had left home at 16, so I was already gone and living my life. So when I get the backlash from a lot of the young trannies who don't know, who don't take the time to research people and do the history, they only judge on what they see right then. Yes, my presentation right now is not classically transgender, but when I'm working, you can't tell a bitch in the room that I'm not the baddest transgender on the planet. Craig has been to my shows. When it's time for me to step up to the plate to represent my community doing what I do as a professional, I do my job. So what y'all young heads don't know, y'all hollering, oh, Flame ain't, she can't speak for transgender. She's not transgender. When I was 24 hours transgender pre-children, y'all was still in your daddy's nuts. It's the truth. And because you don't take the time to learn from the past is why you repeat the future, i.e. what is going on in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't take the time to realize that you are standing on the shoulders of somebody that made a way before you. Mm-hmm. Just like we stood on the shoulders that somebody made a way before us. I'm not the first, neither will I be the last. And these girls on here are educated. All these young queens. I love the fact that all these children on here on this live all got a college degree. My dumb ass didn't go to college. I went to the school of life. Took the long road to get here, but I got here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have no college education. My vernacular is not their vernacular. My verbiage ain't their verbiage. But your big words and your message and my ignorant words and my message is exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I be trying to get people to understand. The disconnect in the gay in the LGBT community is caused by the LGBT community. Period.
Mm-hmm.
We keep asking, take us, include us, and I would love to have a free ride on inclusion. But child, we don't include each other. We don't. And that's no read or shade to nobody. Like I said on the Breakfast Club, the biggest outers of any trans woman or man has been gay men.
Mm-hmm.
Because long before see, I'm old school. I know life before social media. I know life before cell phones. I knew queens that were undeniably passable. I was never fortunate enough to be a passable bitch. You always knew. But I knew some passable girls that nobody would know until some gay boy thought he was going to get around the flowers if he ran and told everybody that, that's a man. That's the line. Mm-hmm. That's where the disconnect came. And what's so funny is so many gay boys turned out to be trans in this era. So many little gay boys that when I was young, they used to say this and say that, are now living their life, they best damn life with titties and everything else. Everybody got Obama coochie. You get Obama coochie. You get Obama coochie. You get it. Baby, everybody got Obama coochie. I'm not going to give me one. Shit.
Right. So, Flat, we're gonna drop you back down because I know once we get you started, girl. So we're gonna drop you back down. We're gonna bring some of the ladies back up.
Yeah, I really want to bring in a few.
No, I think we're gonna bring them all up at one time.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll do.
And remember, guys and girls, you all don't have to agree on every single thing. This is just a conversation. We want to move the envelope forward. We want to push the needle forward. And and we just really want to have questions. We want to have some light questions. We want to have some heavier questions. Explain it.
Okay. We saw you moving, and we saw you moving and agreeing, and there when Flame was talking,
Hope was definitely agreeing when you said it's always been a gay boy that's out of the trans woman.
And do a lot of you guys agree with that?
Well, it's two people. It's cis women.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Jennifer is my testimony above me. Jennifer got me to come and speak on a panel with Angela Davis, iconic Angela Davis, and Stacey Abrams. And the first thing, we started talking. They didn't know. I'm talking. Then they introduced, let them know I'm trans. And the first question they asked, they be tricking people. Y'all be tricking people. So that narrative about tricking people. See, and I will say Flame is definitely that for a lot of people, definitely before social media, a lot of it was like, the gay boys used to love. Let me tell you something. I know girlfriends of mine who've been taken away because of a situation, because of a gay boy doing that, or a lesbian, like a butch lesbian who's trying to prove her masculinity to a group of guys outside. And so she didn't, I'm gonna say she because that person was a butch. Back then they weren't. Trans men is a newer terminology, because back in the day, we would say butch. Like you would say butch in the ballroom scene, you would say a butch. Like how you're butch queen, you have butch, and you have femme queens. That's what it was. Butch queen, femme queens. And the butches would be out with the guys, the drug dealers on the corner. And they'd be like, oh, you know what's going on, right? Just to uplift their masculinity, right? And that whole play of toxic masculinity together. So,
Hope, what you want to say to that?
You say with so much information, Hope.
Right. Well, I want to say I want to say me, from my point of view, I'm not going to speak for the rest of the girls, but I feel like the Breakfast Club interview, like I know a lot of people had a lot of stuff to say about it, but I feel like if any one of us girls would have went on there, I feel like they needed Flame. And although it was kind of like I kind of feel like it opened up the doors. If we wouldn't have went on there, they would have been like critiquing us, looking at us up and down, asking us all kind of crazy questions. I feel like Flame hit a lot of great points, but also kind of like not got too deep in it and made them laugh about it. But me personally, I don't disagree with some of it. I feel like, like especially with them, like I said, when people are around, they like, oh, well, this person is cool. Okay, well, so I feel like you did open up the door for some girl. Like they probably look at some girls kind of different now, even though some questions are off limit. I feel like.
I appreciate Flame being a part of Breakfast Club. I appreciate it in the authenticity of who you are. I don't appreciate it because I feel like it was a way for Charlemagne to really push his agenda of what he believes in. I think on the back end of that, if you look for exactly your authenticity in that moment, that was necessary. I also want to lend an understanding that I do not have a college degree. In fact, I have a GED and have yet to finish college. So it's not about anything dealing with the movement of somebody on the basis of having a degree or two or three. What it is, the basis is my intent on learning exactly whom I want to be as a person, right? And now as a co-director of an organization under KB Can, which I am co-director now for Crystal LaBeija Organizing Fellowship, my job now is to help others receive funding and receive the movement that they can move forward in their own movements of development, and for other trans men as well as trans women. So I want to lend that perspective also. I think a lot of people think they see me and they hear me speak and they come with a specific stereotype about whom I am. I've worked very hard to be in the spaces that I am in, and I work equally as hard to gather others to come into those spaces and expand it.
So, well, because like I said, I know what you heard. You was listening. We were just watching your face, so I know you took in a lot of information. So we just want, we just want to just hear what was going on through their head.
So I definitely want to agree with my sis London, and I definitely want to agree with Flame on the basis that I do think that a lot of Black gay men, for the sake of trade, for the sake of getting dick, maybe jealousy, whatever the case might be, out a lot of the girls and do like disrobe is what I like to call it. They like to disrobe us in public. They like to disrobe us for the sake of either spooking guys so that guys don't want to deal with us, or making women feel like they're making cis women feel like they are better than us in a moment. And that to me is trash, and a lot of gay men do that, but to London's point, so do a lot of cis women. And a lot of the time I think it's for the idea that they don't expect us to be beautiful. As trans women, we're not supposed to be beautiful. We're never supposed to pass. We're never supposed to give them competition. Men are never supposed to look at the both of us and think that we're both attractive. And if they do, then there's something wrong with him. But really, it's just an insecurity of that person that comes through. Now, as far as the Breakfast Club goes, bitch.
Go ahead.
Because I was one of those people, bitch. I think Flame blocked me before Flame even knew who I was. I think Flame blocked me.
I never blocked you.
I was one of those people, and I made a very deliberate choice in my video to come at Flame in a way that I felt was respectful, and that was calling Flame in to have a conversation about the ways in which it could have been done, but then also getting to know Flame after having a couple of conversations via Maddie and just sharing space outside of Flame's personality. I don't believe that there was any harm that was intended, right? Like Flame said, Flame is old school. And a lot of the time, a lot of us new school girls are taught to sit in spaces of victimhood and to constantly call people out rather than call them in and make anybody who doesn't fit the idea of what we've learned in the last 6 months, right? Even because to cancel them. And what we learn every 6 months, it changes every fucking 6 months, right? But to Jennifer's point, I do believe that there was a space that you left open that Janet Mock had tried to close, that Nala had tried to close, and then going into that space and allowing them to kind of use who Flame is to the detriment of other Black trans women who actually identify as such was problematic. And I don't think that I want to tarnish or try to come for your character, but it was just the space that you opened up for problematic Black men and problematic Black people that listen to that show that think that it's okay to disinvalidate my womanhood based on the thoughts and opinions of somebody who doesn't see themselves in the same way that I do.
Right. Okay, so can I speak? So first of all, I understand exactly what you all are saying about that space. But again, my disclaimer is and always will be, I am not speaking for the trans community. I am speaking for Flame Monroe. My first agenda to push when I was on the Breakfast Club was that I was a comedian. I was on the #1 show on Netflix at the time, and I was working with the hottest comedian in the game at the time. I still do. So that was my agenda. Had I went in there with a combative or argumentative attitude to fight rights, that was not the space for that, what you guys need to understand. And me and Charlamagne had a conversation pre-taping, and he said, I'm going to dominate this conversation. I'm alpha male. I say, nigga, I'm alpha male and female. You can't fuck with me, which is why I took control of the conversation. Not the first time I was on there, but the first and second time that I was on there. The backlash and hypocrisy that I got from the Black trans women in my community, and I did say the Black trans women sending me death threats and all of that because you were angry because I didn't say what you needed to say. Create your own lane, get your own agenda, find your voice, and then find a platform with somebody who wants to argue with you. Because I didn't want to argue about it. I went on there to push They Ready and Flame Monroe. Everything else is just a disclaimer to say that I am a trans woman. I am a trans person. But I like what I like, and I do what I want to do, and I speak for me. I've never signed up to be a part of the trans advocacy program. I never want to be the spokesperson. We have fabulous women like yourselves to do that. And to your point about the vernacular, I applaud you for not getting your college degree and speaking so well. This is my speech. Your message and my message is very clear.
So we have a question that popped up in the space. Go ahead, Craig.
And it leads to something that you said last night, Hope, on your live as a result of the woman. So just take it from there. You guys can see the question. Let's talk.
My blind ass can't see it.
Hold on 1 second. What did you say, London?
I see the question. I see the problematic question.
Okay.
So, Just M says, let's talk about the trans girls that exclusively date the same kind of men that attack them. Well, let's talk about that. So it's not that trans women are choosing to date the same type of men, but it's unfortunate that when we are trans, when we try to date the men that we want to date, because of situations like Black cisgender women who put us in dangerous situations because they decide to put stigma and shame on that man, they drop us and leave us alone, and we end up getting attracted. Hurt people attract hurt people, right? So if you're dealing with a situation, or you're dealing with an emotion or whatever, or a lot of trans women tend to be empaths, or at least in my experience, a lot of my friends are empaths. And even in my situation, I would pick up a narcissist, somebody with narcissistic personality disorder real fast. They come out the woods. They will charm you. They see what's in front of them. They will and a lot of those guys have learned the ropes with trans women. So they come in, it's like, you know, like predatory. You know what I mean? They come in, they monitor, they've been with other girls, and they know what your dislikes are, they know what your insecurities are. They use it against you, and they charm you first, and they use it against you. And those are the same. It's not that we're dating the same guy. It's that the pool of guys that we date is small, and not because, and it's not our fault. It's because of stigma and shame that exists, that guys that really find us to be beautiful or attractive question themselves. So the other day I was on Bigo Live, right? I go on this, I have a little thing I do on Bigo, right? And this guy gets up and he's all like trying to talk to me and whatever. And his girl's like, cisgender girl. You know, like in the comments, you know that's a man, right? So the guy's like, huh? Mind you, at this point, he's already tried to like give me his number. So he's like, huh? You know that's a man, right? This is what the guy does. What she didn't realize, first of all, is I'm glad that she did that, because it made it easier for me. I didn't have to say anything to him. And then of course he still was interested anyway. But that right there, like telling a man that he's questioning, then he started to ask questions like, well, if I like you, am I gay? Like, if I'm attracted to you, am I gay? And that is one of the big issues for men, is stigma and shame.
Okay, now Hope, pick up what you wanted to say, because I really want you to speak to what you were talking about last night on your live.
So, for lack of a better word or a better term, I call bullshit. Not in all cases, because I do believe that there are some cases like London where it is empathy and where we do have bleeding hearts for people. However, I think that, and especially when we talk about the girls who do have experience and have passing privilege, a lot of it is about the idea that bitches be wanting to be Beyonce and Jay-Z, and you want the man that gives you the aesthetic. You want the man that's going to make you look like you are
break you down.
You want to play Stepford wife, and you want to have a man that gives you the ability to present that to people.
Yes.
And I think that oftentimes the men that give you that ability, or what a lot of trans girls perceive to be that ability, are the men that do attack us, are the men that don't truly love us and they love our parts, are the men that cannot commit to anything other than a pair of Jordans. And it's just like, I think what we have to do is start telling ourselves the truth about the reason why these men are allowed in our spaces, which are because bitches be wanting to feel like the fish. And the fish has a man that does this, that, and the third. And so I want a man that has this, that, and the third, because I need my femininity validated. And butch queens don't validate femininity. Little twinks don't validate femininity. But Tyrone with the Mercedes or Day Day over there on the corner, they validate femininity. Because regardless of how people want to sit back and say you spilling the trans secrets and the trans tea, these bitches love to sit up and gossip about the piece of trade that they got and how masculine he is. And bitch, you can't clock it, and this, that, and the third. And so
I know Day Day and them. I know Day Day and them.
You know, sometimes we put ourselves in those situations.
I just said
trying
to
fill
Hope.
The fish.
I just said the same thing, Hope. The girls like to break them down. They like a breakdown. We call it a breakdown.
It is a breakdown, and it is some of those things. Let me be clear. My man is none of those things. And I've been in a relationship for 2 years. I've been in a relationship for 2 years, and it is not anything that I thought I would be specifically moving towards. But the very thought, I'll give a short story. I was in the grocery store, or the liquor store, the other day. I live in New York now. I was in the grocery store the other day, and I was with my actual boyfriend. And the guy literally saw us together and decided to try to talk to me in front of him. This has happened before. We were on Miami Beach, and a man actually grabbed me and tried to talk to me. These are things that I don't find attractive. I think it's wonderful in the thought that, oh, my privilege, my passing privilege is pulling through. And he's feeling exactly what he's seeing. But without him doing that, that does not validate my womanhood. My womanhood never came from what a man would do on that side. My womanhood came specifically and surely through how I saw my father treat my stepmother. That's where my validation came through. And I know that everyone does not have that type of upbringing, but I want people to understand that womanhood is not about what somebody else makes for you. It's what you exactly find for yourself, what the comfort is in who you are. During the time of my transition, I spent 3 years and 11 months celibate. I did not have sex during that time frame. I decided to take the time for me and understand exactly whom I was. And the gag was the first time I did have sex in that time space. It happened to be with a man of Morehouse. And where did that end up with me? A man that was in prison, a man that now I was no longer with. You see what I'm saying? So those are fantasies that people create. Those are things that people want you to think you're supposed to have. And that's always not going to be the process. Right. So who are you without that man validating your womanhood? I remember Valerie Spencer asked me a question once. It was a shortage on hormones and I was going through it. Do you understand me? Oh, I have been without my hormone. Okay, sister. It was NASM conference and that was my first time being in a room with her. And she said to me, what is your womanhood without hormones?
I have a question.
Who are you going to be without hormones? And that to me really made me look inwardly again. Because during this time, this is when in my space of who am I going to be? During that time, I had to look at myself and say, exactly what type of woman are you going to be with or without these hormones? So.
Yeah.
So we got. I'm gonna drop you ladies down and bring the men up for a second. Let me make sure they all did where they at. Okay, yeah, they are. Let me drop y'all down for a second. I'm gonna bring the men up, and I'll bring you girls right back. Oh, one more. Where is he down? Oh, there you go. Gentlemen, so I have a few questions. So one, my girlfriend. Right. So my girlfriend, she had an experience with one of her friends. Like her friends is dating a trans man, right? And the made it very known that she's dating a trans man. So my girl responded back to him and said, "Oh, he looks like a man. Oh, he looks good. He looks like a man." And she took a real offense to it. He took real offense to it.
It's like some other people in the back.
Okay, hold on. I think I'm right here. So okay, you hear me? No, I'm gonna undo. You got it's like a reverb on your mic.
Okay, let me turn my thing.
No, not you, Dree. It's a reverb on Jamel mic. But once I get done talking, I'll bring him back on. But basically, she was saying that he looks masculine, he looks good, he looks like a man, but they both took a lot of offense to it. You know, they were really upset. They were really just pissed off at the fact that she acknowledged that he looked mannish. So I know it's just certain things that people just like. We look at the comments here, and a lot of people are just saying some real crazy stuff in this comment. I know and in crazy ways. So my question is, I guess what I'm asking is that where does the line of disrespect and the line of just inquisitiveness, like when does those cross?
I could talk about when the lines are crossed as far as it gets offensive when it's people you know what I'm saying? In the beginning, like say if you just now telling your brother you finna transition, it's gonna be challenging. He might slip up with your name, or he might crack a joke and you not really like it. So in the beginning with family particularly, it can get irritating, especially if they just keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I done told you one time before to respect me, and you just doing it. But it's inquisitive more so. Like if you got a chance to be around somebody that's genuinely that don't know, period, and they're open to what you're saying and not just like on that type vibe, then you can kind of educate them. It's a little easier, you know what I'm saying?
Jamel?
Yeah, so from the example that you gave, it's we don't like to be. It's not about us being real or you look like a man. Like that's minimizing our experience. Like I am a man, you know what I'm saying? That I might be, attractive or whatever the case is. But when the focus becomes more so about the fetish side is when it becomes a norm. And I'm saying like my bro was just saying, when you're inquisitive and wanting to truly understand and know and be educated, that's totally different. But when you're just being ignorant and just like, oh, you look like a man, or you're so real. Like it's a compliment, you know, under undertone compliment, but honestly, you're not really complimenting what I'm telling you I am. I'm saying like, you're not validating that. By you saying that doesn't validate my experience. I'm saying so it's really for me that's trying to educate the principal is the part that gets really irritating.
Now, also, it was not a couple of years ago. It's been a while ago. Did y'all remember when the lady in New York had the daughter that at 3 years old said that she wanted to become trans, and she started nurturing her trans, turning into a boy? You know, it was in Essence. It was all over the place. Do you think? This is just your opinion. You're not speaking for everybody. But for me, when I saw that, I'm like, at 3 years old, how do you express that, you know, that you're trans? How do you, and then is that just, are you just a tomboy at that point, or do you just like boy things? Do you think that 3 years old may be too early to try to transition somebody into a trans space?
That's their children. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's their child at the end of the day. And if they sense the truthness from their child, no matter age, don't matter, man. Because when you feel something about yourself, if you're 62 or 3 years old and you want to be that person and you communicate it the right way and actually execute it, go ahead. Who am I to say, nah, you can't do that at 3 years old? So let them live their life.
Jamel?
Yeah, I agree with Brose. So like one of the things my mom says now, looking back, she would say like when I was younger with Pampers and stockings and dresses on, as soon as I would get home, I would rip the shit off. She would have to chase me around the house. And so those are things that you can identify with back then that are signs to answer your question. You know what I'm saying? But like, and those are just things that you know, if you're in tune with your child, or if your child is able to express those things, it's possible. You know, it's possible to feel like this is what's right for my child. I agree with Bro. There is no age on it. I'm saying like expression is expression.
I think from a public perspective, as we said earlier, that trans women get a lot of light, not as much as trans men. So, what if you could leave our viewers with something from a trans man's experience, from a trans man community? What would that be?
We could leave something like a positive message. Well, I would say just live, period. And it's all about choices and your own mentality, because you have to realize you are the only person living in these shoes, wearing these drawers, with this brain. And every thought you think, you can manifest it. Whatever you want to do with yourself, your life, go for it. That's all I can tell them. That's all I can tell them. And I support you along the way. Whatever. If you need a hug, if you need somebody to talk to, man, just live your life, bro. Can't nobody stop you. Can't nobody.
Big facts. I agree. Live your life unapologetically. You know, take some time to actually figure out what's right for you, because what's for you is for you. I'm saying not only is it you know, a man or a woman of trans experience, but it's your experience. I'm saying like there is no manual, there is no one way. You know, even when it comes down to how you express your transition, whether physically, you know, who you love and how you express that, there's so many different layers of things to explore to see what's actually fit for you.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to bring you two guys up because you see these women are chatty Cathy's, and I know y'all. I said, let me bring them up so you know we can. I want to tell y'all thank you, and if y'all want to stay and listen, y'all can, but y'all also can leave if y'all have something else going on.
But I do have a question for you guys before you go. Would you date a trans woman?
Babe, come here, please.
And the reason I ask that is because I know Flame, and I hope I'm not crossing any line, but Flame is interested in FTM, female to male. So that's why I'm asking.
So actually, I'm in a relationship right now. Me and my girlfriend, who's a woman of trans experience. We've been together for over like two and some change at this point. And prior to her, I've been like with maybe 3 other trans girls within like 10-year span. And that's what I was more so expecting to talk about the different layers. I mean, I know the girls.
No, we can because it's just that we didn't know. Like, people get to chatting, but go ahead, talk to us.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
it's this your floor,
yeah, baby. So this is my. Don't step on my dog. This is my girlfriend Gianna. To answer your question, absolutely. And I mean, I don't know what your follow-up question is about that.
No, this your floor, Jamel. You talk to us.
Okay. Well, I'm saying this, my personal experience, or even the way that I identify is I'm actually a bisexual, or maybe even pansexual trans guy. So when I even said, find out what works for you, just because I'm masculine, just because I'm passing, doesn't mean that I'm the hetero norm trans guy either. Like, I'm very much so queer. I'm very so much bisexual in all these different layers to myself. It's just about finding what's right for you. But like in this particular time, I found the woman of my dreams, and it fits. I think the trans experience part helps, but at the end of the day, it's really about, the connection, period. I mean, I don't love her because she's trans. I literally love her for the way that we connect on things. And sometimes the trans part helps, but I'm saying, I appreciate the fact that there is a place for us to love. And I'm saying at one point in time, I didn't I was really confused about what was real love or not.
And Dree, I know that you were dating a woman, or I don't know if you guys were still in a relationship.
Yeah, we still together, just doing our thing, Tootie.
And she did not identify as lesbian.
No, not at all. I'm really her first. I was her first like stud lesbian relationship, and then like we was together, for a long time. When I actually became the true me, she was still rocking. So yeah.
So now this is where I want to kind of get into the meat.
Go ahead.
All right.
So again, I'm going to go back to Flame. I know that Flame is interested in FTM, female to male, and it blew me away. Not just having conversation with Flame, but also with Kept Secret, who is a porn star, and he has sex with gay men, but he prefers trans men. It educated me because I know a lot of studs that don't want to be penetrated. So that was like complete news to me. Like, it was a news flash. No way. Like, I didn't understand it. So, because I know, like, Jamel, you were saying just a moment ago that you identify as pansexual. At one time you said bisexual, but then you said pansexual. So I want you to kind of further explain that to the people listening. I know they're probably like, how does that work? And
so what feels normal is for me to say bisexual, because my preference, if you will, would be man and female, but it goes deeper than that. I'm saying it's not just cis females, it's also trans women, although trans women are women.
Right.
But also the thing about my queerness and about myself is that I'm true to myself. And though I might not want something right now, I'm open enough to know that things can change in the future. I mean, I've done and I've do things that I never imagined that I would. So like, for example, I'm not attracted to trans guys. I could say, oh, he's handsome or he's good looking, but like, I sexually don't want to be with them. But to be honest with you, if 10 years came down the line and something happened, I can't say that I would not. You know what I'm saying? So that's what makes me want to be like more pansexual, because it's literally about the person. It's really not, I don't like you because you're a man, and I don't like you because you're a girl. I like you because of the person that you are.
Spirit.
Now, my preference tends to be more binary. But I know how open I am, and that could be quite fluid. So, and then I heard you talking about like sexual preference or sexual orientation, and even positions. That's something that I've tried to educate or enlighten or inspire about for a very long time, because again, just because I'm, masculine or passing doesn't mean that I can't be gay, nor does it mean I can't be a bottom or versatile, whatever it is. Same way that, you might have never thought that a stud might get fucked. There's some people that might have thought, excuse me for cursing. There's some people that might
you can cuss.
Probably that. So there might be, when cis people, when heterosexual people look at the gay community, there's guys that they will never imagine he gets fucked, he sucked it too. It's the same thing. We all are just sexual human beings, honestly, and it really just comes down to your comfort level, and what works for you and your partner. And that's kind of just how I navigate. You know what I'm saying? I don't have so much of a preference. It's really about me and my partner. You know what I'm saying? I just And I think that's just me and how I am. I don't like to be in the box about stuff. And I'm saying I like to be open. I like to be able to, I'm saying, be free in my decision making. I don't want to be stuck in any type of box.
Mm-hmm. And when I met Dree, I said to Dree, I said, listen, if I had seen you in the streets, I would have been trying to talk to you.
Jamel is a massage therapist, and he said, "Let's do a massage." Okay. You can't massage me.
You can't be rubbing on me.
I said, "You can't rub on me." And you said, "I said, yeah,
you said that."
Dree was sitting right next to me like you are, and he has the most amazing eyes. And I said, "Listen, if I saw you in the street, and I hope this isn't across the line, but I was like, I would have thought you were a gay boy." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Do you date gay boys?" And he was very clear. He said, "No." He was very clear.
And speaking of that, I mean, I know that. And speaking of that, because you guys are attractive and y'all view masculinity, do y'all have a problem with gay men trying to talk to you guys or trying to get with you guys? Is that
It's a very thin line between complimenting and sexualizing and fetishizing. Like, I'm always very thankful for the compliment, but like, it's very irritating when that's all you could talk to me about. And I'm saying I've had friendships or encounterments where I had to look back on my friendship. Like, every single time we talk, all we could talk about is, "Oh my God, Jamel. Oh my God, Jamel." Like, I'm flattered at so much, and I'm saying, and it just makes me feel minimized as a person. Like, do you not care who the fuck I am? Like, do you not care anything more besides the fact that I'm, maybe attractive and passable? Like, it's demeaning. It's a very thin line. Mm-hmm. And also, some people don't monitor the boundaries. Some people just think they can say and do whatever and come at you. So it's like, again, the thing that I teach about is more so principle. Like, I don't even mind answering any questions, but don't come at me with any type of energy or any type of question. Like, have the type of human decency, have the fucking respect, and maybe one thing for y'all to learn is, it's not really appropriate to ask trans people if they had surgery or not, or if they plan to have surgery. Sometimes that segue might be appropriate, but in the introduction of a conversation, you don't just say, "So, do you have a dick? Do you have a pussy? Do you have surgery?" And I'm saying that's not the fuck appropriate. And those moments would make me be like, "The fuck do you have? Like, what does your dick look like? Is your dick small? Is that appropriate? If I just come ask you some shit, why is it appropriate? Why do you feel comfortable enough to ask me such a personal question?" So again, it minimizes me as a human being.
Mm-hmm. Dree?
Well, I haven't really had that much experience with guys like hitting up on me or whatever like that. So either way, you know what I'm saying, I don't look at people like, it don't bother me. If a gay boy try to hit on me, I'll be like, "Bro, I don't swing that way," and I can keep it pushing. I just ain't gonna be like, I'm not gonna not talk to them. I look at people just they just people, you know what I'm saying? I like to get to know people either way. All on my Facebook, I get it every day. I motivate people. I dive into Facebook groups to get to know people on purpose. I don't care if you dating a guy I don't care about all that, man. I care about like what you like, what's your purpose, you know what I'm saying? How your day been today? That's the type of shit I'm on. So I don't care about people trying to do that shit to me. I'm in a happy relationship, and I'm not cocky or nothing. I know I'm a decent looking guy, but I just don't get down like that. But I love all people. So yeah.
Would you guys say that there's a divide between the trans male community and the trans female community?
I mean, in certain levels, I mean, I'm not going to act like we're just so divided and we don't support them, they don't support us, we don't love them, they don't love us. We absolutely do. But there is a lot of learning to do. And me and my girlfriend talk a lot, and a common or a popular topic is the oppressed becoming the oppressor. Like this cycle, whether it's white people to black people, and then upper black people to urban black people, and then heterosexual people to gay people, and then gay people to trans girls, and trans women to trans guys. It's just a vicious cycle of the oppressed becoming the oppressor. And so, I think the trans women are so used to being the ones at the bottom that it's almost like they now have somebody else to bully in those situations. You know what I'm saying? And we get left out a lot. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a lot to learn.
Left out in what way?
So left out in conversations, left out in I don't even know how to explain. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe, for example, a trans woman can't understand how and why we date, but yet they can go date and fuck and suck and duck and whatever the fuck they want. But like we got to be so policed about how we use our bodies and how we present ourselves and things like that. I'm sorry, what happened? What I do? What I say?
Okay, we want to start conversation. So, Hope, what are you thinking about what he just said?
Out of love, out of and
I can't hear y'all.
You can't hear us? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
can y'all?
I hear you. I hear you, bro. Okay, now.
Okay, boom.
Okay. All right. So in the space of love, y'all.
Wait, I still don't hear.
Okay, well, you got to leave out to come back in.
Okay. All right. So in the space of love, because this whole thing really grabs me, and especially after doing the work that I did today. I'm gonna touch on what you were saying, but I have to flag this for you, for trans men in general, not for you. And so I want to, because that's what me and Craig went through. There was a generalization, right? So I don't want to generalize, but what I do want to say is, as a Black trans woman, when Tony McDade was shot, I left my shit in DC and came down to Tallahassee to make sure that trans representation was here representing Tony. And I don't see not nary. I haven't seen not a nary. And my thing is, I thought I would have been met by my brothers before I got here. This was a time, this was the space for y'all to let people know that this happens to Black trans men too. And y'all didn't show up for y'all brother. There were supposed to be bus loads of Black trans men here to represent Tony, to make sure that Tony got justice, to make sure that this crack ass bitch who's trying to hide behind being a fucking victim was put in his place, was put in jail, and that his name was released. And the most I saw, if I'm being honest, was a Zoom call where y'all talked about it and talked about ways to maneuver, but I don't see my Black trans brothers that I see at the balls, that I see at these conferences, that I see in other Black spaces here protesting for y'all brother. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to say that everybody has the means, but the fact that I don't see nobody here, nobody got on the bus and mobilized, like, it makes me upset, and it makes me want to be like, don't talk to Black trans women about how y'all are left out of the conversation. When the conversation is about y'all don't show up. When the conversation was about the whole pad things and they were getting Black trans women together, y'all didn't. Some of you all did not come to the defense and say, nah, this is not a Black trans women issue. This is Black trans men that y'all need to be talking about. And we do use these products, and we would like it if y'all didn't trip about what's on the fucking packaging. But none of that happened. And it seems like Black trans women are always the matriarchs once again. And we always stand up, and we always pull up, and we always ride up. And it's just like, then we turn around and we hear the cries of Black trans men in the background. Like, but what about us? What about y'all? Y'all don't be showing up, like, you know. And it's just kind of like, I hate to say it like this, but guys, it's the guys, the honest truth. Y'all want the same representation,
I'm trying to figure. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just trying to figure out. So, are we measuring our involvement based off the events that you think we should be at? Because contrary to belief, in my social network and in what we do, we're very much so. I know for myself, speaking for myself, I'm very visible and very vocal. Like, no, I might not be where you're asking me to be right now, but like, I'm one person and they're the next person, and you can't really like judge or shame why we're not doing what you think we should be doing the way we're doing, because there are other tables, there are other ways in which we are there, which I don't see you there as well. So you can't. And I'm saying, like, I get your passion, and I totally get it, and I totally agree that we can collectively be visible more, and we could collectively do more. But this is still a learning lane for us, like, to even know how to do this thing. You know what I'm saying, and how to even get guys to be comfortable. It is a whole process. But I wanted to actually go back to, I don't know if you missed it, but I prefaced by saying I'm not gonna front like the trans women are not here to support us and that they don't love us. And I said that I'm not gonna front like we don't support y'all, that we don't love y'all. So that was the very first thing I said. But I'm also not gonna neglect our other side of the experience, which is actually very real. And I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot you just said. It's a lot I want to respond to, but it's like so many different. I don't know. It's so many different layers to it that I'm trying to unpack. Like,
but that's why this is an ongoing conversation. You know what I'm saying? This is because I think you guys have the same passion and the same interests, but it's just about unpacking it. And everybody's at a different point in their journey, in their transition. You know, in their understanding. You know, so it really is about just having this conversation and keeping this conversation going. And I don't know how connected you guys are across. When I say you guys, I mean trans women and trans men. I don't know how connected you are across communities, but you know, maybe this will open that up.
There needs to be constant intersectional conversation, and I say that for Black folk, and I'm going to say that for trans folk. I think that there is a lot of separation based on the privilege of media. There's a lot of separation based on the media privilege that trans women are afforded, right? And so a lot of the time, trans girls do get lost in the idea that our stories seem to be more compelling and visibly active in media. And so there's this need to kind of sort of separate the narratives to keep people interested in what we have going on. But I think what a lot of it really boils down to is the fact that when you look at the numbers, right? When you tally everything up, the reason that folks want to hear about what's happening to Black trans women is because it's the same argument that, you know, Black cishet men are making towards Black women. And it doesn't make it right, but it is still the fact, right? And the facts are we are seeing disproportionate numbers of Black cishet men being killed and murdered on camera by the police. We are seeing large disproportionate numbers of Black trans women being beaten, being killed, being murdered. And there's a need to amplify the stories of the people that are most at risk within the community. So it doesn't mean that Black trans men are invisible. It doesn't mean that this is not happening to them, but it does mean that there's a need to amplify those who go through it on a public and regular basis. And we just have to be able to have that real truthful conversation. And just to go, like I said, it's not about being where I want you to be, and it's not about being where I think you should be, but to be perfectly honest, if we're going to be up in arms about who is doing what, then let's do the work. And I feel like this was the perfect opportunity. And if not you, like I said, this is not an attack. I tried to make this not non-general for this reason. This is not an attack. If not you, my brothers at Black Trans Men Inc. should have been down here. My brothers at BTAC should have been down here. My brothers out in Tallahassee that run the ball should have been down here. There should have been people down here to represent this man. There should have been trans men from all over flooding the streets of Tallahassee right now to stand up. And once again, Black trans women are here in the fold screaming Tony's name. You even got white cis bitches out here louder than trans men are at this moment. And so it begs me to challenge you to take it back, both of y'all, to take it back to trans men and say, you know what, y'all, where the fuck was we at? Why were we not organizing to get down the tally? Why were there no resources being put up? Where were the buses? Where were the plane ticket? Y'all give resources for everything else. When y'all want to do anything else and y'all want to look fresh and y'all want to be fly and y'all want to present and show people that you are passing and you the man of the mans and the dudes of the dudes, y'all get funds for that. And nobody got funds to come down here and make sure that Tony was properly buried. You know?
Definitely shaming and stuff. But I feel what you're saying, though. I mean, it's always room to do better. Always room to do better. No excuses. I mean, I literally just saw like about the protest maybe a day or two ago. So like even just getting the word out there better and faster. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever it is, we can do better. But like we can't shame people for doing what they can when they do. Yes, we could do better. We will. I'll even hold myself accountable to that. But also I want to make clear too that, you know, our issues aren't just about the outside world too. More so when I was saying being left out the conversation at the table, I'm really even talking about inner community stuff. I'm talking about, you know, like trans groups I've been to where it's predominantly trans women. And when you have the opportunity to have a trans guy there, we're overpowered by conversation. We're overpowered by their judgment. We're overpowered by them trying to narrate our story. And I'm saying like, that's more so what I'm talking about.
But Jennifer want to jump into this conversation. Jennifer?
Yeah.
Is she frozen?
You there, Jennifer?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
trying to
Get your thoughts. Okay.
because I find it very offensive to tell a trans man a man or trans experience how to show up for himself. That is not something he owes to anyone, first and foremost. And second, I'm wondering, Hope, did you pay for yourself to get there, or were you funded to get there? There are a lot of streams. Okay, so you were funded to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of streams and a lot of these agencies that do not and will not fund trans men in anything outside of something that they have for study, something that they have specifically for men who are not literally trying to maneuver themselves in mobility. Understand? And a lot of these funds sometimes are tied up in grant writings that are specific to the deliverables that they have for that specific grant. I think it's very foolish for us to think that a trans man is going to move at every drop of a hat. I don't want to give too many details about my personal life because I don't believe that specifically I have to give my own personal story. But what I will say is I am very committed to the fact of making sure that I myself find streams of funding to make sure that our men of trans experience. I know Sean Coleman in New York City is one of the most funding gentlemen I have ever seen for situations like this with Destination Tomorrow. Those are the things that we need to start making sure that these people are aligned and integrated into these individuals and these perspectives. You cannot tell a trans man, just like they cannot tell us how to show up. There is so many ways in which I would like to be on those front lines myself, but because I have a higher power and I play my position in this fight to the T, I know that I can't specifically put myself in a situation where my anger is going to go out of control. My safety is not that of top tier because, as we know, Black trans women are not something that is upheld to the most highest of security. And I have to be in different spaces myself. So I respect and appreciate every trans man that decides to be on the front lines and those who work behind the scenes to handle business. Because a lot of them we don't see. Like you said, Craig, in the beginning of this, you had no idea trans men even existed. Understand? And that's what they're supposed to do. And they're surviving. You know very well what it means to be a survival and to move in survival. Those are things that we need to help push forward for these individuals about mental therapy, about how to access internally, how to be on the outward span. That's not for everybody to understand. And I do want to say this, I don't speak for trans men, but I do want to make sure that you understand that most of them, in my understanding of how I've been integrated, are raised in a span of being women, right? Is a woman taught to go forward and be specifically out loud and forthcoming with the way that they present themselves? I didn't think so. So we need to understand that the questions that we're asking about trans people are very parallel, as I said to Derek the other day when I spoke to him, to a cisgender man and to a cisgender woman, on top of the issues that we have internalized for ourselves.
I think the thing for me, and thank you, Jennifer, for holding me accountable for that, and thank you, Judge Jamel, for holding me accountable for that. But I think for me, what I think was missed is that even when and Craig, karma, right? Karma, because now I understand more thoroughly. Because for me, even when I try to not be general, and I'm not trying to tell trans men how to show up. What I'm saying is this was an opportunity that I feel, being somebody who is here in the space. I'm not talking from my house in DC. I'm not talking from across the country in LA. I'm here. And I was just saying that this feels like a missed opportunity. I'm not trying to tell trans men that you gotta. What I'm saying is that I expected to be met because this was a moment that I thought that my brothers would have taken advantage of. Right? That is what I'm saying here. I'm not trying to tell y'all how to show up, when to show up, where to show up, and what to do. Right? But what I'm saying is that I think that this was a moment where trans men could have taken their power, where trans men could have used their voices, where trans men could have shown up and shown out and reminded us in that space that we are here, that we do matter, that these things do happen to us as well. And y'all ignore us time after time after time after time after time. Instead, here I am, a Black trans woman, having to remind people that my brothers matter. And for those of you all who don't know my work, go and check my Facebook. I've been raising money since last week when I found out. I have money to give to not only the family, but if you guys haven't noticed, I have money to give to 4 trans men that I've raised a scholarship for in Tony's name. So to sit back and try to belittle me for making a valid critique about what I have not seen as somebody who is on the front lines, as somebody who is willing to put her body up, as somebody who does not mind going to jail, who has been to jail and is gonna go back and is probably gonna someday get jumped by one of these niggas because I'm speaking my mind. It's insulting for people to sit back and say that my critiques are unwarranted when they are. I want to see all of us have a voice in this fight. I want my brothers to be voiced. I want my brothers to be able to speak about shit. I want my sisters to be able to speak about shit. And I want Black people as a whole to be able to come together and talk about Black issues and be intersectional about the fact that LGBT people are Black as well. But the sad part about it is that we're not willing to critique the ways in which we have to do better in order to get there without being sensitive. This is why I'm saying that the growth that I've seen in myself in understanding flame makes sense. Because when you tell a lot of LGBT people the truth, they turn into victims and then they want to run and hide and cry instead of just saying, you know what, you're right. Next time, I got you. Next time, I'm going to put the word out. If I can't be there, I got you. No problem. But instead, it's like, oh no, how dare you? What you mean, how dare I? This is what I'm experiencing firsthand, right here. Out the window, it's Tallahassee. It's not DC. And I got funded because I got on Instagram and I talked to my people and I said, hey people, if you want to critique my activism, get me to Tallahassee so that I can do my activism on the front lines. And my brothers could have done the same thing. I could have brought that up too, but that wasn't important. What's important to me is that everybody is heard. And to come at me like I'm trying to make y'all feel bad just seems a little...
But now you're saying things that were not said. We're not trying to make you feel bad. We're actually speaking, I spoke my truth and Jennifer spoke from her perspective of things. And like I said, I can understand what you're saying that, we can and should and will do more, but there's a part of your passion that you're judging what we couldn't or did not do. And in that, again, like I said, is it only measured by what Hope wants? If you weren't able to make this rally, would it have been okay that I wasn't at this one? And I'm saying like there will be more opportunities. People have their own reasons why they weren't able to, and I'm saying whether it be funds, whether it be jobs, whether I can get locked up. I'm on probation. I cannot get locked up. So there are things that I got to be careful about. And I feel like no one's asking to be a victim, but you have to be compassionate about everyone's experience and their capabilities. You know what I'm saying? And it's not based off of what you want. I know your passion has a good intention, but it's not about we got to be there because Hope wants us there and Hope wants us to use our voice. Hope wants this. Thank you for your support, but it's not. That turns into a little bit of judgment. You know what I'm saying? I'm not criticizing you for your passion. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? But like, you got to meet people where they are type thing. You know what I'm saying? And if that is doing better, that is what we got to do.
So that's a good, yeah. Thank you, Jamel, for that.
Now, I do want to say this because there's been a lot of conversation around trans women that have been killed. Of course, we've mentioned some trans men that were killed as well. But the overarching issue seems to be Black trans women that have been killed. Of course, we talked earlier briefly about what's her name? India?
No, Ayana.
That was attacked in the convenience store. And my question is, and this is for everybody to answer, why do you think Black trans women are killed more than any other trans woman, like trans white women. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that. So educate me if I'm not speaking, correctly.
Masculinity complexes. Black men are taught to covet masculinity because they feel like they've been buck broken for the last 1400 years or so. And so there's a need to prove your masculinity. And how dare you essentially be a Black man and give up masculinity? How dare you? Mm-hmm. They barely respect women who are cis. And so for you to be a man and hold on to this thing that is so coveted, that means so much to them that they're willing to kill for it, and you just give it away to become something that we barely like. Mm-hmm. If men could fuck each other and it not be judged, they would. They love their homeboys. They tolerate their girlfriends in most cases. And it's just like what people fail to realize is the reason that they get away with it, and the reason that it happens to Black trans women more often is because our community is taught to hate the things that they don't understand, and those things become normalized. That behavior becomes normalized. Being able to go and slap a trans woman and people think that it's funny is now a thing that people, do y'all know that after the jumping, the very next day when I went to go check Ayana's page to make sure she was good, do y'all know that sis was on there like, yep, I'm good, I'm still
and
pretty.
She should be allowed to do that. And she should be allowed to do that.
No. But
and she should be allowed to do that.
Let me make my point. The fact that she felt, because to me, what that was is showing face. That's reminding y'all that y'all ain't phase me, and she should not have to feel like that. Now that and that's another thing that I need y'all to understand. These are my opinions. Y'all are talking to separate people with different opinions. These are you could take them or leave them. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm not coming for anybody. I'm not trying to say that Hope's word is law, but we're all up here to give separate opinions. And my opinion on this is that young lady should have been able to sit in that for as long as she wanted to sit in that. She shouldn't have had to feel like she had to get on Instagram and get all sexy and cute and put herself together the day after 30 people tried to fucking smash her head into a goddamn ice cream cone. She shouldn't have to feel like that.
But Hope, what if she did feel like that? What if she did? What if?
But she did it because hours later.
She did. That's why she did it, dear.
But hours later, she turned around and said that she wishes that she didn't have to go through this. It's a facade.
Because y'all pressure her into making her feel like she doesn't have to be the woman that she was doing that before the boys. If you go back through her page, that's exactly how she was acting before the boys, and she did it after the boys. I've been the same type of bitch in a space like that where men have jumped me, 4 of them, in fact, in 2 different spaces, matter of fact, in my hometown, where niggas have jumped me. And the next day, I was still the same bitch, still came back, had the same paper, denim, and cloth, and I meant it with every fiber of my being, because ain't nobody gonna break me from exactly what I've showed you I am. I want you to take that perspective and understand that does not mean that she's being pressured into doing that. She does not feel, and in fact, I'm very proud of her confidence. It makes me so happy. She ain't went and got no seal, ain't went and got no titties, ain't did nothing but took a hormone shot, and she feel the fishiest she could ever feel. And I live for that because she is fish, and they can't take it. That's the thing that I live for. That's why I live for my brothers who don't show up in spaces, because they handling their business elsewhere and don't let nobody else make them feel pressured to be in these spaces. I'm very proud of the way our community itself is handling. What I'm not proud of is the way that we ourselves are demonizing these people in these positions and where they are and are not, where they can't see them and think that people ain't handling business, because they are.
All right,
the systems need to change, not the people.
All right, Jennifer, Flame has something to say. Go ahead, Flame.
Wait, I'm just glad that Jennifer then came around, because her verbiage has changed. Now I can relate to this bitch right here. Now I can talk to a bitch. I saw the young lady's post. That was terrible what happened to her. All those people. But
hey,
let me
what happened?
Where
somebody tell me what happened, because I'm
she
really
pulled
like,
up in the gas station. She pulled up in the gas station and she bumped into somebody's car. Instead of them exchanging information, the lady and her got into an altercation where they got into a fight, and then somebody spooked this young girl's tea. They found out that she was a trans woman, and then the lady just kicked it off. The biological female, she did kick it off. She insinuated and agitated it until all those boys wanted to jump on that girl. Thank God that girl was young and could move fast, because she was able to get away from them. Secondly, to the store owner, thank you for allowing her to come in and get behind the counter, because it could have been somebody black who said, kill this nigga, because that's what we be up against. But thank you to, and he was Middle Eastern or something, but thank him for getting her out of that. Now, what I don't agree with, here I am. I used to be a young trans whippersnapper. And if I see a gas station, and I know a whole lot of gas stations unopened during the pandemic, I'm not going to test my realness or test my, when I see all this turmoil and drama. Some situations can be avoided. You pulled into the gas station trying to prove your realness. And I'm only going off of this because me and T.S. Madison had a conversation about this morning. And she said somebody inboxed her and said that the girl was trying to prove her realness. You failed the test, dear. You failed the test, not because you should have went around that. Some shit can be avoided. So I'm not buying that bullshit. And then you get on social media and you do all of this. We have not learned anything as trans women. The girl who they beat up in Texas a while ago, who had the same incident, she hit a car. She went on social media, cutting up and reading and woo. She was found dead a week later. Is that what you want for this young lady? She should have shut her mouth, packed her shit, and moved away from Minneapolis, because from what I hear, she got plenty of money from donors on her cash app to help her move to a different situation. Some shit we got to take responsibility and accountability for the part that we play. So when they keep saying, why is transgender women of color being murdered? Because a lot of girls are doing things that they should not do. I'm an old bitch. Old bitches know to shut your goddamn mouth. Young bitches want to out everybody. With outing comes consequences and repercussions, and that's not for everybody, because there are some legit hate crimes, but all of them ain't. And she shouldn't have went to social media. She should move before she be the same like the girl who was in Houston. That's just my 2 cents, and I'm ready for it. Come on.
Right, but I can't speak from a trans experience, but I can speak from who
a feminine gay man.
But from the persona of Derek J. And I know for me, I have my good girlfriends like Jamil Pratt, Jam Jam, that will bust up in a strip club in a full dress and makeup, but that's not my tea. Like, I'm not, girl. I know where I can go and where I want to go and do. I move accordingly. Like, you know, if I see a space that I don't feel that I need to be in with booty shorts on, and thigh high boots, and a flowy shirt, I know that that's not my space. And
but Craig, she was, but Derek J, she's young, and some girls are really passable like that. I'm telling you, I've never been uncomfortable being who I am. But look at these ladies. These ladies are passable like that. But when you see that situation, some shit you just avoid. And with the social climate in the world right now, people are on edge. They beating each other up. They shoot you. Unless you're on E, unless she was on complete E, she should have driven to another gas station. That's all I'm saying.
But you know what's sad? I think the very fact that we're blaming individuals on being who they are authentically, and we're doing the same thing. They did the same thing when Tony McDade was declared dead. In fact, a lot of us trans women were saying, well, he was mentally capable, but he planned to do it. Well, it doesn't matter. He deserved his day in court. He didn't deserve to die. He deserved to go home to where he was. It did not matter, because they'll take a white boy, they'll put him in the back of a car, escorted, take him to Burger King before they take him there. That's my problem. We ourselves are the ones who are telling everybody what we should and should not be doing. She should be doing what she should have done. And Tony should have done. I'm very proud of Tony McDade for standing in exactly his mental capacity at that time. And what we need to do is be accountable that our own community is the one that pushes these narratives of how to be a man and what you should be. And the fact that he got jumped the day before from a group of people and had nobody to turn to, that's my problem.
But that was the hate crime. But that was the hate crime. His death wasn't the hate crime. The guys jumping him was the hate crime. When the police saw him with a knife, they saw a man with a black man with a knife, and they shot him and killed him.
He didn't even have a knife.
But they didn't matter. But they still saw a man. They didn't see a trans person. They saw a man, a black man.
Agreed.
They didn't see a trans person. So the hate crime didn't come from the police. Agreed. They should not have murdered him.
That's why I gave the whites the
for the 5 niggas that jumped him the day before, and he came back to retaliate. That's where the hate crime was. Let's put the blame where it is. That was not a hate crime, his murder. The police saw a black man. There is a war on black men in this country right now.
Absolutely.
Right now. You can turn
There's
on
a
any
war on black people.
news in the nation and it's on.
Period.
So they didn't kill
Black
him
people.
because he was trans.
Period.
They killed him because he was a black man. Period.
None of us are
Okay,
safe.
so when you say those things, when you have that comparison of the Kate crime was the day before, how many
Yes.
people have you heard say, "Oh, if it was me, I would go back and kick their ass"?
Oh,
Or,
I don't
I would go back
disagree with that.
and
I
he
don't
acted
disagree
on
with
it.
that.
And he did exactly what our community tells people to go and do after
I
they've
don't
been harmed.
disagree
Am I
with his
correct or not?
tactics. That you missing
Okay.
the point. The point was, I don't disagree with what he did. I disagree that the police didn't even say, put your hands up. The police saw a black man that was, I guess he had been fighting or whatever, and they shot a black man. This is what I'm saying. That was not the hate crime. The hate crime was from the black guys. The police just saw a black man. There's a war on black men on every news station. I hope you got the news because it's on right now. I'm looking at it on CNN.
Oh, yeah, I live in New York City and we have a curfew till Sunday. I am living proof. I have a man who is scared to go run outside, which he does every 2 days, to go and handle his business with his own body because he has things that he needs to handle with the way that he perceives
Well, I
himself,
just don't
right?
want to submit.
And he
I don't
can't
want to
do
submit
that.
them through the hate crime. That's all I'm saying, baby. I'm not arguing with you. I just don't want to submit.
No, but I want you to understand that it's not an attack on your words, right? It's an attack on the notion that we as a people do not see exactly what's going on and have done nothing about it since the beginning of our culture.
Well, let me ask this, and this is how we're going to kind of wrap up the conversation. This is obviously a conversation that we need to continue to have. And just to echo what a lot of you have said, I don't think that it's just the responsibility of trans men or trans women. I think it's the responsibility of everyone that falls under LGBTQ, especially when it's black trans people that are being killed. Black people need to start stepping up. So with that being said, do you struggle? Is everyone here black? I don't want to assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you can get.
Right. So do you struggle with or find it challenging to support black causes when you have been marginalized and you know that if it was a black trans issue that they would stand up for you?
Yes, I do.
And we can go down the line. We can start with Dre. What about you? How do you feel about that?
Well, like I said before, I am a little bit behind on what's been going on outside of the community and even within. So just being here with everybody, I've learned a whole lot. And you know, I can't step up to the plate because my little portion that I've been doing just for people outside and inside our community, you know, so I'm big on motivation and giving positive energy, but I can go here strong with really, you know, voicing what's going on. It's a little bit more we need to do. Excuse me. But ultimately, it's room for improvement, and people always got their own choices. I'm not gonna try to figure out why they do what they do. If you on board, you on board. You know what I'm saying? And if you need support, shit, we got your back.
Flame.
I think we need to put a whole new face on gay bashing because I'm telling you something right now. Baby, stay strapped and protect yourself because as you can see, they're not protecting black men or black women, period. So, you know, we already at the bottom of the barrel. Protect yourself. Whatever that means, however you receive this from me, protect yourself. Whether you got the license or you know Ray now, get you some hand jewelry because I would much rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. You're not killing me because you don't understand me. I don't understand you. Period. And a lot of my sisters need to put down their womanhood sometimes and remember, before all this, pick up their manhood, bitch, and you had to battle for you. It would have been a very different story had that sister had a pistol. She pulled up out of her purse. She'd have cleared that. She'd have cleared that. Sometimes you got to protect yourself, especially when you're going into situations like that. And I'm not advocating murder, but I watch special victim units and how to get away with murder. I think I got it down. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Hope.
I do. I struggle with it a lot, and and Craig, you saw from the live last night. I'm very vocal about the fact that I struggle with it, and I'm very vocal about the fact that, like I told my family, my LGBT brothers and sisters, I'm no longer attaching these cishet names to my liberalism and my escapism from this bullshit that they like to call trans and homophobia. I am marching because I am Black, and it is my duty to stand up for the indiscretions that we go through as Black people. But I'm not attaching George Floyd, because I don't know if George Floyd would have attached it to me. I'm not attaching Breonna, because as we saw with Sandra Bland, sometimes the women be on that bullshit too. I'm not attaching anybody's name, but what I am attaching is the one thing that I cannot get away from, no matter how hard I try. I can't undress it. I can't unsurgery it, which is my Blackness. And we need to be upfront about the ways in which we are treated by heterosexual cisgender Black people. And until heterosexual cisgender Black people can start to understand that we are Black first, and not just when they're trying to make us be wrong on Twitter, then I'm going to constantly remind them that there is apprehension, and that when I march, I'm not marching for the cause of a Black man. I'm marching for the cause of the Black people. And if you don't like that, then oh well.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer?
In this climate, it takes a lot for us to tune in. It takes a lot for us to watch ourselves be murdered. It takes a lot for us to come to the realization that in 2020, we're still no further than we were in 1963, 1964, before the march, and years previous. What I do encourage everyone to do is research your people, research your history, find out exactly who you desire to see in the world. That is what I wish for people. Again, I am the LGBTQ liaison for State Representative Park Cannon of District 58 in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm also the co-director of Crystal LaBeija Organizing Fellowship, which is a national organization. If there's anything I can do for my people, please let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Jamel?
So yeah, I do find it challenging to fight for Black lives, knowing that half of those Black lives wouldn't support my trans life. And not only does that hurt the pride in my existence, but it can also be a dangerous environment. You know what I'm saying? And for example, in a rally where we all supposed to be, uniting as Black, me being with, my trans sister and her protector, me being passable is just my journey. But if I'm with my shorty, my friends, or whoever, and they have a situation where they're being judged because they're trans, I'm now in that fight as well. That could be a dangerous situation just from us trying to support a whole different cause. So it does make it challenging to show up for all different reasons, safety reasons, for your own individual reason. It's challenging.
Someone in the comments has been asking for your Cash App. Is that all of your Cash Apps right there? She's been asking. Is that everybody's Cash App? Well, listen.
So we'll leave that.
Feel free to support, because the girl looked good, but baby, it costs a lot of money to make this tour.
Yeah, we'll let that sit right there. If this wasn't a good way to start off Pride Month, I don't know what is. I want to tell all of you, thank you very, very much for
thank you,
being honest, and what I really want to say, I really appreciate from all of you is the ability to be comfortable with conflict. And because this all could have went a different way real quickly. But the fact that everyone had listened, everyone understood, and everybody just took time to learn from each other. I want to tell you guys, I personally appreciate that.
And I think you guys were all knowledge. And this video is going to live in infamy. You know what I'm saying? Somebody will be watching this video 3 years from now, 5 years from now. There may be some trans girl or guy that is going to learn from watching you guys, so just keep that in mind. And I just think that we need to keep the conversation going. I saw a lot of women in the audience or in the comments saying, well, we're going to have one for, I don't know how they call it, but cis women. And I know some of you don't like to call that, but they're asking, are we going to have this conversation? And yes, we are. We have a conversation that's going to come up in July But the next conversation is Black Gay in the Church.
Black Gay in the Church.
Now that's
my God.
Today. That's 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks from today. Because remember, we're back on our regular schedule, so it'll be 2 weeks from
Isn't
today.
that a shame we can't even say Black trans in the church? Isn't that a mess? Ain't that a mess?
I want to participate in that one.
Let me tell you this. Like I had to tell London, and I'm telling you, when we did. So the thing about this, when I called to talk to you, Jennifer and Jamel, when me and Craig sat here, we literally came up with all of our topics in one day. We didn't really think about the language. We didn't think about we were just like, this is what he do. This is what he do. As we started talking to people, we were like, oh shit, we need to change this.
The language isn't right.
The language isn't right. Like the original language for this was a different type of man and woman, the trans community. And I was like, when we said the first time, we was like, oh, that sounds
parallel.
It was like, I don't think that sound right. And then, I talked to Jennifer, and Jennifer was like, no, you cannot
parallel.
And then I talked to Jamel, and Jamel was like, yeah. So I said, just take that whole sentence out and just put the trans community. So the thing was is that from our perspective, we just were just throwing the names out and being salacious as they were, but not really thinking about what comes along with it.
But we'll change it.
But now that we
because of you. So we'll call it Black LGBTQ and the church.
Right.
Well, I'm available, baby, because I was raised conservative Baptist, so holla at me.
Okay, so I want to say, guys, thank you all again so we can do our closings.
Yes, and this is Dree's Cash App right here for those who are putting the comments in the over there.
Yes.
But yeah, well, thank you for being here. We appreciate you as always. Thank you for helping us fulfill this idea that we came up with. Thank you. Please share this live with your people. I mean, because I think you all made really, really valid points. London fell out of the comments, or from the live. But
yeah, she just like I said, she was dealing with the death of her friend, and they had to, they did with the funeral and everything. So she was dealing with that today. So I was happy that she was able to
enjoy. It was
absolutely.
Awesome. But thank you guys. Have an amazing night. Be safe. Be safe.
Y'all too. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Y'all be safe.
Oh my God.
Wait, we're not done.
Oh wait, what we gonna
say? We're closing, sir. I know we closed, but we closed.
Well, how many closes you need?
Oh, first of all, you got your nerve.
He told me I did all this talk. Okay, you go ahead and wrap it up.
And you stay right there, Hope.
Yeah.
But no. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for expressing your comments and learning with us, because we learned a lot today ourselves.
We did.
So I want to say I appreciate you guys for listening to us, and we will be here in 2 weeks for Black LGBTQ and the church.
And don't forget, if you subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Derek's channel.
Oh, and
turn on the notifications so you'll know.
What stuff? We got stuff. Where is this? If you want to be part of that conversation,
this is the thing. Right.
Thank you.
So if you want to be a part of the Black LGBTQ and the church conversation, email us right here. It's glmconvo@gmail.com. It's going to be 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
That's gaylikemeconvo@gmail. So glmconvo@gmail.com. Please don't DM us on Instagram and all that other stuff. It's easier if you guys just do it right here, because then we can get all of it, in one place.
And rules for the email, as always, send us a small paragraph on how you can add to this conversation. Send us your contact information, meaning your phone number, so we can talk to you. And send us a picture so we can just know who we're talking to.
Right.
Because we get a lot of crazy emails, and we don't know
who's crazy and
who's crazy, who's not. And these conversations is really for our Black community. So when we have somebody pop on, we like, oh, child, well, you ain't Black. So
and not to discriminate,
but this conversation for you. So so just please send us a picture. Send us your contact information and a small paragraph. Craig can read. I don't like to read.
And if you want to support us, here we are right here.
Oh yeah, here we are.
That's
right here.
Derek's Cash App in mine.
Where is that? Bam, right here. Because this costs, believe it or not.
It does.
It costs us, and we're using our own personal money to make this all happen. So.
Now, maybe one day we'll be on tour, but we're not right now.
Right.
But thank you so much, guys. We really, really appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah, broadcast.